The freezing night air is brutal, and our MC is at her limit. Shivering in the snow, she realizes she won't survive much longer if this keeps up. Terrified that she's about to die all over again, she tries to keep moving behind her. A mysterious man appears from the darkness, silently watching her struggle. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the wind, calling out to her. She freezes in her tracks, her heart jumping as she realizes she's no longer alone. Panic instantly takes over. She doesn't know who this guy is, but she's not waiting to find out, bolting into the woods at full speed. Wait, he shouts, but it's too late. She's already disappeared into the trees, convinced that they finally come to finish her off again. He's fast, closing the distance in seconds. Without a word, he removes his cloak and wraps it around her to shield her from the freezing cold before gently sweeping her into his arms. Their eyes meet in a tense silence, both caught off guard by the sudden encounter. Welcome to Rintsey, a tiny, miserable kingdom on the edge of the world, and somehow this shivering little girl is actually a member of its royal family. Just a few minutes ago, our girl drowned to death. This near-death experience triggered all the memories of her past life to come flooding back. Her name is Elendila. In her previous life, she lived in Japan. She worked a part-time job at a regular restaurant. But in this world, things are a lot different. She is now a 7-year-old girl struggling to survive in the freezing cold. With snow-white hair and sand-coloured skin, she is the child of a king and a slave woman. The monarchy considers her the shame of the entire royal family. The other royals are all blonde and refuse to acknowledge anyone different. They are full of discrimination and look down on her from their high horses. She was a princess who was abandoned during her upbringing. While she watches from the shadows with a growling stomach, she realizes even the servants do not respect her. They look at her like she is a stain on the palace floor. It is clear that she has no allies here, just as she thinks she is safe. A voice calls out from the shadows. Her third brother finds her cornered, and the terror in her eyes says everything as she stammers out a weak apology. This kid is one of her many half-siblings who shares her royal blood but none of her status. He pets his massive hunting dog, Chappie, asking if the beast is locked onto its prey yet. With a simple command, the hunt is on. Elendila bolts through the snow as the beast snaps at her heels, while her brother screams for the dog to move even faster. There is no mercy in his voice, only a demand for the dog to bite the royal family's shame to death. She keeps running through the deep snow, tears streaming down her face as the jaws close in. In a cruel twist, it was not just the dog chasing her. She recalls the exact moment she was shoved, sent plummeting into the bone-chilling waters of a frozen lake. Her third brother just laughs at the sight, petting his dog like he just won a prize. To him, her life is nothing more than a source of entertainment. He is not the only one enjoying the show. Her sixth sister stands by laughing, mockingly asking why she would jump into a frozen lake all by herself. Elandila's gasps for air were cut short as the freezing water pulled her down. She reached out one last time, but there was no one to take her hand. Her siblings just watched from the bank like it was some kind of show. Her second brother didn't care at all, just giving a cold before turning his back on her begging. The cold was everywhere, a numbing pain that blocked out everything else. It was like her body was being pierced by 1,000 needles. Her seventh sister poked the fire with a grin, complaining about the nasty smell as she burned the last thing Elendila had left of her mother. That worn cloak was the last piece of her past, and now it was just smoke in the wind. The royals didn't even look back as they headed home, leaving her to sink into the dark. She tried to force her body to move, but the freezing lake had won. Her vision started to blur as she drifted deeper into the abyss. In that lonely, silent place, the royal family's shame finally vanished. She died right there in the freezing cold with not a single soul to mourn her. And for some reason, just like that, she snaps back to reality with a flood of memories from her past life. She is not just a discarded royal anymore. Reality hits her hard as she starts coughing up freezing lake water. She is still trapped in the deep end and needs to move fast. With a desperate surge, she claws her way back to the surface and collapses onto the ice. Her body is shaking from the bone-chilling cold. Tears stream down her face as she realizes her old swimming lessons just saved her life. She is alive, but the nightmare is far from over. Looking back at the shore, she remembers every single face that laughed while she was drowning. These royal siblings really thought they could just delete her. It was not just her siblings, but the servants and even the king who turned a blind eye to her. The entire palace is basically a crime scene at this point. She makes a grim vow. She refuses to die until every single person who wronged her is in the ground. She has a new mission now. I will make them understand the diligence of the Japanese, she declares. The reality of the situation hits with a sudden chill. Getting back to the detached palace is the priority before the cold wins. Dying again is not on the menu, not until she drags every single one of them into hell with her. Her bare feet sink into the biting snow. Feeling has completely left her toes. A voice cuts through the wind. Panic sets in as she realizes someone just found her. Memories of her siblings flash as she tries to bolt. Another death is the only thing waiting if she stays. A hand clamps down on her arm, ending her escape before it even starts. The man looks down in confusion, wondering why a child is out here in the middle of nowhere. Our MC is caught off guard as a hand grabs her shoulder. Looking up, she realizes it is a knight she has never seen before. She notices right away that his armor looks nothing like the gear from her own country. While she stands there shivering, he starts reaching for his gear. Instead of being a threat, the knight wraps her up in a heavy cloak and lifts her off the ground. She is stunned by the sudden warmth and kindness. Getting a good look at him, she realizes this man is insanely handsome. He is on a level of beauty she never even saw in her previous life. He looks at her rough state and asks if she is a slave child. Our girl reminds herself that while her mother was a slave, her blood is pure royalty. She grits her teeth and forces the words out through her shivering. She manages to stutter that she is actually a princess. It hits her that this knight has zero clue who she really is. To him, she is just a royal in trouble, not the girl her family calls a total shame. He stares at her like she just claimed the moon is made of cheese. The title of princess sounds like a joke in this frozen graveyard. Our girl keeps doubling down on her royal status, but he is stuck on how she was treated worse than a street rat. His silence is louder than her shouting. Searching his face, she wonders if she finally stumbled upon a soul with a bit of warmth. He looks like her story is physically hurting him. His men roll up and address him as royalty, confirming this dude is a heavy hitter. It is official. He is not letting go of his new responsibility. A strange flag with a bird design waves in the wind, and it is definitely not from around here. These outsiders have locked down the woods. The tables turn instantly as her trashy siblings get tied up like common crooks. Seeing them in ropes is a sight she never thought she would see. These knights are showing zero mercy to the local royals. Even in ropes, the seventh sister cannot keep her mouth shut. She throws a final curse at our MC, promising to drag her down with them. One of the soldiers points right at our MC and asks the tall knight if this is the girl in question. He wants to take her with them because he heard Rincey had a princess born to a slave. Without any warning, the soldier reaches out and grabs our girl by her hair. The knight catches his hand instantly. He tells the soldier to stop being so rough with her. The soldier is stunned, shouting that this girl is part of the royal family that treated them like trash. Our savior just gently pats her head. He explains that stooping to the level of their enemies would only ruin their own pride. Meanwhile, the other royals are tied up and completely losing it. They scream that the kingdom is finished and everyone is going to be killed. Rincer picked a fight with the great nation of Agdoniogel and got hit with instant retaliation. The royal palace was seized in just a single day. Maybe it was the rare snowfall that set the mood for this takeover. The invading commander looks down at our tied-up MC and claims he is no barbarian. A mysterious woman speaks from the throne, claiming she is not a conqueror either. The hall is packed with captured royals who are finally facing the music. She takes her seat on the stolen throne and offers a deal to anyone with actual talent. If they serve her country, she might consider giving them a chance to live. The crown and fancy clothes are stripped away as the old regime falls. Soldiers drag a body across the floor while warning everyone to keep their eyes down. She watches the carnage and realizes the man being hauled off is her own father, a man whose face she never even knew. It is a cold reminder that royals are only as good as their usefulness to the nation. The new boss wants to know what these people can actually contribute. They were raised in luxury with the best education, and now they have to prove their worth or lose everything. These captured royals are out here speed running their resumes, bragging about being top-tier mages and astronomers just to save their necks. The Empress is totally unimpressed. She calls them all useless and moves to the next person, making the seventh sister absolutely lose her mind. This princess starts throwing a tantrum as she is dragged away. She spots our MC sitting nearby and immediately switches to pure hater mode. She grabs our girl by the hair and demands to know why a worthless child is standing after her. She even starts insulting the MC mother in a total fit of rage. Desperate to save herself, she tries to throw our girl under the bus. She yells at the guards to kill the MC first, claiming she is just livestock that ruins their honor. The Empress watches this messy drama with a look of pure disgust. She points out that she specifically asked for the actual royal family to be brought here. She calls out their insane hypocrisy. They never treated the MC like royalty before, so it is a joke that they are suddenly using her rank as a reason for her to die first. From her high throne, the Empress demands a name. The bound girl can barely get the word Elendila out of her mouth. The Empress looked down with a gaze that could freeze a lake. She mocked the girl's name and even insulted her mother, wondering why a child would be given such a name. Her cold eyes stayed fixed on our girl while guard holding her father head. The Rincer royals are losing their minds in the back, yelling about how disrespectful this whole situation is. Ignoring the noise, the Empress whispers an order to her knight. She wants someone named Yashobal brought to her immediately. Our girl is completely lost, having no idea who that even is or what they want with her. Leaning back on the throne, the Empress decides it is time to get serious. If this kid wants to be treated like a princess, she has to meet some high standards. She asks the ultimate question: is she actually useful for the kingdom, or is she just more dead weight like the rest of her family? The answer is pretty obvious, and it hurts to admit. Without any educational skills, the girl knows she is completely useless in a world that only values power. Our girl was spiraling. The Empress just dismantled her entire existence with a few words. She was a princess in name only, but she realized she had never actually lived like one. Looking back, she saw the harsh truth. Even knowing her own rank, she had just been a beggar surviving on scraps without even trying to change her fate. To the Empress, she was nothing more than a lazy royal. Watching her eat like a commoner, the leader's judgment was cold and final. She had only ever asked for the bare minimum respect because she thought her title alone was enough. But titles do not mean anything if you do not have the power to back them up. A sudden shift. With her past life memories flooding back, everything became clear. Seeing her tormentors bound and broken on the floor felt like the easiest revenge ever. But satisfaction was a luxury she could not afford yet. One thought dominated her mind as she looked forward. She needed to survive, to honor the girl she used to be. She had to stay alive and find her own path in this new world. In her past life, she lived in a regular Japanese neighborhood and helped her family run a small shop. It was a simple, peaceful life before all this royal drama started. The Empress waits for a response from her throne while a knight keeps his hand on his sword. She demands an answer right now. She knows she has to prove her worth to stay alive, but the only skills she has from her past life involve cooking. The Empress stares her down and asks if she is actually useful or just a waste of space. With a look of pure determination, she shouts out a question that catches everyone off guard. She asks the Empress if she would like to eat some pudding. The room goes completely silent as the Empress and her knight just stare back in confusion. They have absolutely no idea what she is even talking about. The Empress just sits there for a moment, processing the weirdest offer she has ever heard. She finally asks the girl to repeat that because the request makes zero sense to her. She realizes that proving her worth through politics or power is impossible right now. If she wants to survive, she has to bet everything on her knowledge of modern food. No more bragging. This is a binary bet, and she is putting everything on one high-stakes offer. The room is full of question marks. None of these hardened soldiers have ever even heard of something called pudding. The Empress wants to know if the food is ready now, but our girl is ready to pull up to the kitchen and make it from scratch. It is time for the sales pitch. She describes a smooth, sweet dessert that exists nowhere else in this world. This is the ultimate chef gamble. She is so confident that she tells the Empress to take her head if the meal is anything less than perfect. While our MC is hyped to survive, the royal advisor steps in to call the whole thing improper. This dude is convinced this is just some desperate lie born out of fear. He has no idea he is standing in the way of a culinary revolution. Ibrahim is clearly stressed out about his leader eating food from the enemy royals. The Empress just looks at him with a smirk and calls him the wise one to shut him down. He turns to the rest of the room and asks if anyone has even heard of pudding. When the only response is a silent stare from the knight, he admits the word does not exist in Rincy. Our protagonist is currently having a mini heart attack while she waits for a verdict. The Empress shrugs it off and decides that a complete mystery is actually quite interesting. She stands tall and finally drops her full name for everyone to hear. She is Kashana Anis Janis, the literal Empress of the Agdanogal Empire. The truth of the situation hits the protagonist like a truck. She realized she was not just dealing with some arrogant noble, but the actual woman in charge of everything. Kashana turns her focus to the handsome knight who has been standing by her side. She calls out for Yashobal, and he answers her with a simple nod of acknowledgement. The Empress gives her first command and tells Yashobal to take custody of the child. He accepts the task immediately, while our girl just looks up from the floor in complete shock. The Empress is not done with her interrogation. She still has questions for the fools who have not been dealt with yet. Execution is on the menu for everyone else in the room. Our MC gets a very specific command to start preparing that pudding if she wants to stay alive. Yashobal leads our girl through the massive palace corridors for the first time. She is taking in the sights, but the vibe is about to shift. The tour takes a dark turn as they pass by the cleanup crew. A guard is pinning down one of her family members while shouting for them to fall into hell. Before she can witness any more of the execution, a hand suddenly blocks her view. Yashobal leans down and tells her to look away because this is not a sight for children. She can only manage a small reaction as he shields her eyes. She catches a close look at him and is instantly floored by his genius-level looks. His face is literally glowing so bright she can barely keep her eyes open. Yashobal sees her covering her face and completely misreads the situation. He actually thinks he looks so scary that he is terrifying her. He keeps moving ahead while she realizes he thinks she was trembling with fear. She is left standing there, wondering if she should correct him. Yashobal pauses in the grand hallway, sensing something behind him. Our girl is following so closely, she is practically stepping on his heels, looking lost in her own world. They trek through the castle, with him stopping at every turn to make sure she is still there. She blushes as she realizes he is actually looking out for her, which is surprisingly sweet. Back in the kitchen, she gets into character by putting on some borrowed gear. She ties her headscarf tight, ready to start her culinary survival mission. Hygiene first, so she looks around for a place to wash her hands. She finds the sink but quickly runs into a major problem. Her tiny child arms cannot reach the edge. She tries her best to reach the pump, but she is just too small for this kitchen. Yashobal notices her struggle and steps in to offer some assistance. He lifts her up like a doll so she can finally reach the water. She gives a small thanks while focusing on getting her hands clean for the cooking ahead. Being this close, she notices he actually smells nice despite being covered in the blood of her enemies. He snaps her out of it by asking what ingredients are needed for this mystery dessert. Our girl breaks down the science of how heat turns eggs into the legendary dessert known as pudding. Elendila lists out the basic lineup of eggs, milk, and sugar. Adding that fresh cream and vanilla extract are the real MVPs for a top-tier result. Yashobal stares at the humble ingredients, wondering if this simple grocery list can actually produce a miracle. Our girl just hits him with a confident yes, ready to prove she is the real deal in the kitchen. Before they touch a single ingredient, she lays down the law and tells the elite knight to go scrub his hands. Ditching the heavy armor for something more kitchen-friendly is the next step, though he is not used to being this vulnerable. The poor guy just realized he is not here for security detail. He is actually the new sous chef. He asks if he has to participate, and she is shocked he even had to ask. He admits he has never touched a cooking utensil in his life. She just gives him a bright smile and says everyone has to start somewhere. As he changes into lighter gear, she is floored by the fact that he looks like a top-tier model even while prepping for a dessert. She tells the elite knight to fire up the oven, but he is at a loss without any modern buttons. Trying to cook using tools that don't run on electricity is a guessing game. Yashobal pokes around the stone oven, wondering if he even lit the thing correctly. It turns out the elite knight is just as stumped by the basic fireplace as she is. Seeing his struggle, she pivots the plan and points toward a stack of pots for a much simpler heat source. He hauls out a heavy bucket and she puts his muscle to use by ordering some water. After some manual labor at the pump, he hauls the full container back to the workstation, finishing the heavy lifting in record time. The pot finally makes it onto the fire, and our girl takes a second to appreciate the help before moving to the next step. Now she is scanning the room for anything that can work as a mold in a world that does not even have a word for pudding. Our girl knows she needs the perfect container to pull this off. It has to be just the right size and handle the heat, or this whole gamble is over before it even starts. She tries a bowl, but it is way too big for the pot. Her eyes land on something on the top shelf, but she is way too short to see what it is. Our boy steps in to handle the top shelf reach and even gives her a head pat for the effort. She grabs the fancy cup and realizes it is exactly what she was looking for. Yashobal identifies it as a sacred ceremonial cup made of orichalcum. Our MC is stunned to find legendary game material sitting in a kitchen. Despite a few concerns, she decides this high-quality cup is their best shot at a tribute. It is time to stop overthinking and start cooking. Everything comes down to the caramel. That beautiful dark stream has to hit that perfect balance of sweet and bitter to make the dish work. She knows that the right caramel is what makes people smile just thinking about the flavor. To get there, she has to burn the sugar just right. Yashobal is sweating bullets watching the sugar burn, but she stays cool under pressure. It is all part of the plan to get that perfect caramel. She runs through the next steps in her head, but hits a major roadblock. There are no refrigerators in this world, so getting ice is going to be a struggle. A quick look outside reveals the perfect solution. Snow and ice are piled up right there for the taking. Yashobal catches her trying to bolt, but she is just planning an ice run. She even offers to go back to the frozen pond where she first fell in. He stops her at the door and tells her to just ask for what she needs. She is left wondering if he is actually going to do the heavy lifting for her. He raises a hand and lets magic do the work. Fresh ice chunks start raining into her bowl while she watches in total awe. He presents the massive pile of ice like it is nothing. She is officially a fan of the magic system in this new world. Yashobal gives props for the quality, and our girl is clearly feeling the win. Seeing snow in this region is actually unheard of, making this whole winter vibe extremely suspicious. She wonders if high-level magic is behind the storm, but Yashobal cuts through her thoughts. He gets serious for a second and asks if she is afraid of the snow that nearly killed her. She just gives him a blank stare, explaining that snow is just naturally cold and nothing more. Shaking off the deep talk, she asks for another batch of ice, and our guy is happy to help. They are entering the final stretch. That ice is going to be the MVP for the cooling stage. Our girl explains the final prep steps with the confidence of a head chef. Once the caramel is set, it is just a simple flow of mixing, straining, and a classic water bath. Yashobal is still playing the skeptic, wondering if she really has the guts to bet her life on a dish. She stays locked in, focused purely on that 1-week deadline. Flashback to the simpler days in modern Japan. Every Wednesday, her cousin's restaurant was the spot for a lunch special that never missed. Coffee and pudding were the reward for surviving the weekly grind. Seeing a genuine smile on a customer's face was the vibe that made all the hard work worth it. Those core memories are what built her up. They gave her the certainty that her pudding recipe was actually elite. That past life experience is the only reason she did not fold under the Empress's gaze. It gave her the strength to drop the pudding reveal in the most high-stakes moment of her life. Yashobal takes it all in, but stays the ultimate realist. He admits that betting an entire future on a dessert still feels like a reach. Our girl is locking in. She's banking everything on this flavor. hoping the Empress shows some mercy. It is undoubtedly delicious, so I hope that will be taken into consideration. Yashabal is carrying a lot of weight while he pours the mix. Losing his head is a real risk if this plan fails. Elendila tries to help by cleaning up, but she's carrying way more than she can handle. Our MC isn't just thinking about herself, even with her family's execution on the horizon. She asks what will happen to the workers and the regular people. Yashabal stays professional, knowing it is too dangerous to guess the Empress's next move. He brings up the fate of everyone who tried to oppose Her Majesty until now. The reality check hits hard. Every person who fought back was enslaved, which is a lot for a kid to process. Despite the grim news, Elendila notices the vibe. The knight is treating her like a real princess instead of just a prisoner. He is answering her questions honestly and on equal footing. For the first time, someone is showing her some genuine respect. The kitchen is set and the tension is high as they finish the final prep. Yashabal asks if she is truly ready for this gamble before picking her up. It is time to see if this high-stakes plan actually works. She lifts the cup and reveals a wobbly pudding that looks elite. Yashabal can only stare at the sacred royal cup she used as a mold. He realizes that a priceless treasure has just become a kitchen tool. Yashabal gives her a firm look and says it is time to go. They make their way through the grand halls of the palace. The long wait is over and the pudding is finally complete. They arrive at the throne room doors with the covered plate. Yashabal announces to everyone inside that the offering has arrived. The Empress is waiting with Ibrahim and seems surprised by the timing. She admits that they were much faster than expected. Elendila looks around and remembers that no one in this palace has ever been kind to her. The Empress of the Agdoniogl Empire is actually taking the time to taste something our MC made. It is a wild shift from being a palace beggar to having the world's most dangerous woman as a dinner guest. Back in the day, everyone looked at Elendila like she was trash on the sidewalk, but the way this Empress looks at her is different, and it is hitting way harder than any of the hate she is used to. Flashback to the original family who treated her like a mistake that should not even be breathing. They could not even stand the fact that she was alive and moving around their palace. When she was just a kid, she really tried her best to be loved. She would put on a brave smile, just hoping someone would finally give her a bit of approval. She played the part and offered to help wherever she could, trying to be exactly who they wanted her to be. But all that effort did not change a single thing. Nothing she did ever worked, and the only reward for her hard work was more abuse. Now, hearing those same people screaming does not even make her flinch. She does not feel a single drop of sympathy for anyone in this palace or this country anymore. Whatever happens to them now is just karma finally coming to collect. Elendila locks eyes with the woman who holds her fate. She realizes this Empress is nothing like the family she just lost. Standing there in dirty hand-me-downs, she notices something weird. The Empress is actually treating her like a person instead of a target. Yashabal presents the mystery dish and the girl confirms it is the legendary pudding. Everything rests on this one silver plate. The lid comes off and the room goes silent. Even the Empress is caught off guard by how elite the dessert looks. Everyone watches as she prepares to take the first scoop. Kushana takes a bite while Elendila prays to every god she knows. She has to be useful or it is game over. Without warning, the girl drops to the floor and hits a perfect bow. The sudden move leaves everyone in the room completely stunned. With her head glued to the ground, she starts begging for mercy. She is not just playing for her own life, she is trying to save her people. Our girl is panicking internally because her body is moving on pure survival instinct. Kushana repeats the plea about the people of Rincy, but she stops mid-sentence with a look of confusion. Looking at the plate, the Empress admits that the dish is beautiful and rare. The dessert was so impressive that she already decided to spare the girl's life before she even took a bite. The atmosphere turns cold as she stares the kid down. She was about to sincerely enjoy her food, so she wants to know why the girl is ruining the vibe with such an improper plea. Kushana is not playing around anymore because the mood just shifted from dessert to a high-stakes confrontation. This shameless plea is the last thing she expected from someone who just saved their own skin. The pudding is perfection, but the MC is not celebrating yet. Amnesty was only the first step in this dangerous game. Life as a slave's daughter in a royal family is a disaster, and her status is zero. Those past life memories are just making this identity crisis even harder to handle. Directly petitioning the great Empress in front of the entire court is a power move. The Agdoniog High Command is watching this tiny princess challenge the status quo. The ghosts of the past are trying to drag her down, but she is pushing through to reach for a miracle. Every word out of her mouth is a gamble for the survival of the people. This country has never offered her a single drop of kindness, even with no good memories to hold on to. She is still representing her royal family. The plea for an entire nation is a huge request that changes the energy in the room. This request puts the survival of Rincy squarely on the table. She knows she is just a part-time worker in a kid's body. Trying to save a nation as a slave's daughter seems like an impossible stretch. Status doesn't matter when you have a job to do. Even if she is the family disgrace, she is still a princess with a duty. Taking responsibility for the people is a heavy load for a child. It sounds naive, but she is dead serious about this. The crowd probably thinks this is a joke, but she is staying glued to the floor. This tiny girl is pushing through with a wish that no one expected. That Japanese work ethic is fighting its way to the surface. She cannot ignore the sense of duty from her past life as she addresses the Empress. From zero to hero because of one dish, her confidence comes from the fact that her pudding is elite, and Kushana can't deny it. She is treating this whole execution scene like a business meeting. This was never just a snack. It was a high-stakes proposal from the start. The MC reminds the court that they still haven't settled on a reward for her legendary pudding proposal. Yashoba watches in silence while the reality of Elendila's status as a princess finally settles over the room. Even after a life of being ignored and treated like a nobody, she still chooses to stand on her pride as a royal. This is officially her first and last opportunity to actually step up and act like a leader for her kingdom. She explains that this dessert is way more than just a sweet treat. Facing the Empress with everything on the line, she offers the dish as a trade for the safety of her people. Kushana leans in with a sharp smile, curious if this little girl is actually ready to carry the weight of her family name. Ibrahim looks absolutely stunned, sweating as he asks if she is really down to die for her people. Behind him, the rest of the court looks just as shocked by the kid's reckless courage. The vibe shifts as the MC finally realizes the weight of the person standing before her. This is a true absolute ruler who dominates and crushes anything in her path. Empress Kushana looks like a straight-up titan, sword in hand. She stands tall as the leader of the great empire, and her presence alone is enough to fill the room. Kushana does not do mercy. If a royal claims they want to die for their people, her cold expression says she is perfectly happy to let that happen. Ilandila's hands are shaking so hard she has to white-knuckle her own dress just to stay upright. She is barely holding on, telling herself she has to endure this moment. Closing her eyes tight, she tries to block out the crushing pressure. This is the one moment where she cannot afford to fall apart. Walking away, Ibrahim and Yashabal realize how impossible this mission has become. Fulfilling Elendila's wish while trying to persuade the Empress is going to be a total nightmare. Kushana rests her chin on her hand, pondering the idea of 1,000 nights. It is a long shot, but she thinks it might actually be doable. The scene shifts to a legendary tale. In an ancient kingdom, a woman found herself in a life-or-death situation where she had to give everything to the king. Every single night, she would visit his chambers and spin wild tales from across the world. Some were beautiful, and others were cold as ice, but they all served one purpose. This legendary storytelling marathon lasted for over 1,000 nights. Kushana recognizes the move. It was those 1,000 stories that finally reached the king. Because she kept him hooked, he actually decided to let her live. Elendila realizes that when dealing with absolute rulers, the only survival tool is keeping them interested. She managed to grab the Empress's attention for now, all thanks to her legendary pudding. Elendila is sweating buckets. Trying to act like a legit princess in front of the Empress is easier said than done. To Kushana, everyone is basically worthless trash. Our girl needs to prove she is more than just another royal if she wants to stay alive. She refuses to be treated like a talking piece of meat. Her plan is to become a source of knowledge that no one else has. Thoughts of the fallen soldiers start to weigh her down. She is barely holding back the tears as the reality of the situation hits. Dropping to the ground, she begs for a chance at redemption. Even Ibrahim looks a bit stressed as she pleads for her family to atone. The only thing that matters right now is being useful. Elendila is just relieved that she found a way to prove her worth to the Empire. Kushana sits back and considers the offer. 1,000 nights sounds like a wild gamble, but she is officially intrigued. I will offer your majesty rare and delicious dishes that only I know. 1,000 nights, 1,000 dishes. She makes her move. If she wins the Empress over, she has one big request for her country. It is not about forgiveness or salvation. Our girl refuses to play the victim. A normal 7-year-old would just want to die with dignity as a princess. She's not interested in the easy way out. She prepares to drop a bombshell. She finally drops the big one. Grant me this country. The room erupts in shock, while the Empress just lets out a dry chuckle. Kushana completely loses it, laughing so hard she has to hold her forehead. Ibrahim joins the mockery, stunned that the little princess actually had the guts to say that. The Empress is practically doubled over as Ibrahim shouts that her request offers zero benefit to the Empire. He pivots to lecture the royals, calling them out for attacking first, then acting like victims. He reminds them they started the war and cannot just cry about the consequences now. Calling their plea for restoration the height of shamelessness, the surrounding guards can only nod in agreement. While our girl wonders what her family did to make them this mad, Kushana finally catches her breath. Kushana admits her subordinates are right, but she cannot stop thinking about that 1,000-night gamble. The Empress admits she is actually into the idea of these 1,000 nights of rare dishes. She is visualizing ramen and pizza like they are legendary treasures. She turns to Ibrahim with a sharp look. She points out that the number of people in this country is way larger than just 1,000. Ibrahim shouts that trading simple food for the sins of a nation is impossible. Our girl is left kneeling on the floor, wondering if her gamble just went up in smoke. She knows she got the Empress interested, but that might not be enough. The deep hatred this empire feels for her home is a wall she might not be able to break down. Kushana sits back with a heavy presence. The tension in the room is not even directed at the girl, but the vibe is still suffocating. The advisors and knights start shouting, pointing their fingers at her. They mock her for being a kid who knows nothing about how to actually rule a country. The Empress acknowledges the girl has serious guts for talking to her like that. She respects the resolve but makes it clear that the kingdom of Rinse is still past the point of forgiveness. The verdict is finally in. Kushana decides to spare her life, but there is a major catch. She is officially trading her execution for a life of slavery. Not exactly the win she wanted. As she stares at the floor, she realizes her mercy might just be a different kind of prison. Just as things are about to wrap up, Yashobal steps into the spotlight. He bows low, calling out to the Empress before the situation can escalate any further. The whole room freezes as the knight makes his move. Standing firm, he humbly requests permission to speak his mind. Permission comes with a smirk from the throne. Kushana grants it, and Yashobal drops back down to one knee to show his respect. A forgotten promise is brought back to the surface. Since he was a total beast in the recent war, he is technically owed a wish as a reward. This definitely gets the Empress interested. She acknowledges the deal and asks him what he actually wants to claim. Ibrahim is sweating bullets as the Empress asks if she should actually forgive the Rinsa people. Yashobal calmly repeats the question back to her. No hesitation from the guy as he drops the ultimate bombshell. He wants the princess to be his wife. Silence falls over the court as everyone struggles to process that request. The advisors look like their brains just stopped working. Our girl has officially left the planet and is now drifting through a mental void of wedding rings and stars. The shock is so heavy, she has basically transcended reality. Kushana starts laughing so hard, she's practically crying, while our MC is just screaming in pure confusion. This entire situation has turned into a total circus. The Empress wipes a tear and calls this the perfect solution. She is fully on board with the madness, leaving Ibrahim to keep losing his mind in the background. The entire court erupts into a shouting match. Nobody can understand why the hero of the war would choose someone like her, of all people. He just stares off with a head full of question marks. Meanwhile, she is in the back actually losing her mind. Why did he have to go and say that? Everyone is losing their minds because the hero of the war just asked to marry a child who is supposedly the shame of the enemy kingdom. Elendila is standing there with a head full of question marks while the Empress just keeps howling with laughter in the background. Kushana wipes a tear and admits she never expected to have this much fun inside the enemy palace. She mentions how he never started a family before and figured he just had some kind of personal rule against the whole idea. Ibrahim is watching this disaster unfold with a look of pure concern as they discuss his duties to the empire. Yashobal drops some cold logic and states that marriage should only be something used to benefit the state. The Empress asks if this tiny girl is really more beneficial than all the high-class princesses they have tried to set him up with so far. Yashobal confirms the marriage request with a straight face, leaving the tiny princess wondering what planet this man is from. Kushana just keeps howling with laughter while Ibrahim watches his sanity slip away. Ibrahim tries to play the diplomat, reminding everyone to consider the strategic benefits of bringing in a foreign princess. The Empress points out that her top knight claims there is a benefit, which leaves Ibrahim questioning his entire life. He just stands there in dead silence, trying to process the logic. He explains that a royal marriage might be a viable shortcut to absorbing the enemy kingdom quickly. The man is clearly catching a headache from all this political nonsense. If she was a neglected princess, they might even win over the commoners with a sympathy play. Ibrahim finally manages to cut in with a firm excuse. He notes that her appearance is a complete departure from the rest of the Rinsa royals. The Empress hums in thought, considering the political optics of the situation. Ibrahim doesn't see the point in being nice. He thinks there is zero need to subjugate this place through peaceful means. The Empire is laying down the law, deciding to turn everyone into resources to show off their power. They want revenge for the war to prove their might once and for all. Ibrahim brings up the atrocities in a place called Cessia, which leaves the princess completely out of the loop. Kushana treats the whole thing like common knowledge. The dark history of the region is finally starting to come to light. The Empress asks if this marriage is just a trick to take over the kingdom peacefully, but Yashobal hits her with a cold no. Ibrahim is in the back losing his mind at the disrespect. Our boy starts making a formal vow on his name, while Ibrahim tries to shut him down before he says something reckless. Yashobal looks the Empress right in the eyes and asks her to reconsider. He is definitely not backing down. The logic of this move does not add up for anyone. Kushana gives nothing away with a simple smile and stands up, ending the conversation right there. Kushana drops the hammer. She orders her men to split the Rinsa people into 1,000 groups and turn them all into slaves. Once they get back to the home base, the youngest princess has to serve up a new dish every single night. It is the start of a legendary culinary grind. Freedom comes with a catch. Every time a meal gets the pass, one group of her people finally gets to walk free. The Empire is holding onto their grudge for at least a century. Ibrahim realizes that even in the best case scenario, some people will be in chains for a long time. There is no safety net for our girl. If she fails even one night or serves something unacceptable, the deal is dead. It feels like an eternity for someone so young. Ibrahim understands that this deal is actually a lucky break for them. The long game begins. 1,000 days of cooking for her survival starts now. Kashana lays out the long-term plan for the kingdom. Once the slaves are all freed, Yashabal will officially take his place as the queen consort. The youngest princess is getting a massive promotion. She is promised full autonomy and the official crown of Rinse. Kashana looks down with a smug smile and checks the vibes with her son. She asks if these terms are satisfactory for him. Yeshabal does not hesitate and drops into a deep, respectful bow. He gives his thanks to the Empress from the bottom of his heart. He locks eyes with the girl and drops some heavy reassurance. He tells her there is absolutely no reason for her to be worried about anything. Our MC is officially lagging from the information overload. She can barely form a coherent sentence as the weight of her new life hits her all at once. Yashobal breaks the silence by pointing out that the dessert is starting to lose its chill. Kashana does not need to be told twice and finally goes in for a taste. Kashana takes a bite and immediately enters a food coma of pure joy. One taste is all it takes for her to start glowing with satisfaction. Ibrahim thinks it is a bit hasty to just start eating like that. Kashana tells him to chill out and not be so rude. Kashana is not about to enjoy this alone and pushes Ibrahim to take a bite. This dude is one of the 3 sages, but even he cannot escape her whims. Ibrahim usually spends his time in the Tower of Learning as a high-ranking advisor. Now, he is about to test the most dangerous dessert in the Empire. His real job is acting as a translator so everyone can understand each other. The knife slices through the pudding with 0 resistance. The texture is different from anything he has ever felt. He cannot figure out how eggs could ever become this firm yet silky at the same time. He takes the plunge and enters another dimension. His eyes start sparkling as the flavor profile hits him. Ibrahim is in a trance from the flavor until he looks down and sees the empty plate. He is shook that it is already gone, but that is what happens when you do not share. He turns to the Empress with a look of pure disbelief. He needs to know if she expected it to be this elite. Kashana admits she is just as clueless as him. She cannot wrap her head around how a neglected kid learned to cook like a master. We are shifting gears to a world of skyscrapers and bullet trains, a place where science is king and magic does not even exist. In her old life, she was constantly starving for more. She lived without ever receiving the basic things that most people get for free. She spent her days chasing status and honor in a high-stakes corporate environment. It was a reckless life of always gasping for the next win. Finally, the constant running caught up to her, and she grew tired. She reached for a door to escape the noise. We jump to a modern restaurant where the vibe is super welcoming. The staff already knows exactly who is walking through the door. A professional-looking woman in a suit makes her entrance. She is clearly a regular here, and the waitress is ready to take her usual order. Back in her old life, the corporate grind was intense and only left her with 1 free day a week. Pudding was her mandatory post-meal ritual every single time. Kushana is having a sudden realization because the princess mentioned the exact same dessert that defined her past life. She never actually intended to show a child any mercy, but the pudding was enough to earn the girl a single chance at survival. Seeing that familiar scene again brings back a wave of nostalgia she never expected to feel in this world. Despite the trip down memory lane, her new reality is much more serious. She is the Empress of Agdoniogel now, and memories are just memories. Kashana makes it clear that her word is law. As the Empress, she has no intention of being soft on her enemies. The stakes are high. If even one meal is not up to her standards, she will follow through and finish everyone off just as she planned. Cooking for 1,000 days straight is a brutal task for a small child. The survivors are basically praying that she can pull off a miracle and save the country. Kashana stares down at the princess with a piercing gaze. She demands her next serving right now. The Empress announces that she is staying home for the time being. Ibrahim looks like he is about to have a mental breakdown over her unpredictable behavior. He points out that the rest of the world is probably celebrating. They would be more than happy if she just stayed put and stopped being a threat to everyone. Kashana thinks the fear of her neighbors is hilarious. She licks the last bit of pudding from her finger and looks forward to the chaos. Yashobol walks away as everyone wonders what he is actually planning. Ibrahim cannot figure out his true intentions at all. He looks down at the girl in his arms and realizes how strange this whole situation has become. She is definitely not a normal child. Even standing right in front of a known killer, she stayed calm. This kid has nerves of steel. She did not cry or shake with fear even once. She just took it all in like a total pro. To him, she is a kind-hearted soul who is actually sincere. He is starting to see her in a completely different light. Until this moment, her entire life was nothing but a constant struggle to survive. She never knew what it was like to be safe. While the rest of her family was busy being pathetic and praying for themselves, she was the only one worried about the people. She is officially the best person in this entire royal bloodline. He looks down at the small girl. He really wanted to help her. This was more than just a passing thought. It was a genuine wish. He reached out as a sudden wave of fear hit him. If he had not found her right then, everything would be over. She would have died in that magical snowstorm. This is Yashobal Leigin. Back in his homeland of Agdoniogul, this man is a straight-up legend. He carries titles like the Silver Grey and the Black Wolf, names that people only speak with a mix of fear and respect. He is an elite swordsman who cuts through any enemy. On top of that, he is blessed with powerful ice magic. She opens her eyes and looks up at him. "Is that you, Sir Knight?" she asks as she wakes up. He possesses a special ability that freezes the ground and brings down the snow. Bro keeps everyone else back as he holds the small girl. He tells her not to worry. Elsewhere at the castle, the night is quiet under a full moon. He promises they are just heading somewhere she can finally get some sleep. A warm bowl of bread porridge is exactly what she needed. Our girl is absolutely devouring it, but he tells her to take it easy. Soon he carries her into a private room to settle in for the night. Surprisingly attentive, he makes sure her pillow is just right. After checking the bed, he is relieved to hear everything is perfect for her. For now, he just wants her to focus on resting. Thinking about the future is too much right now, so they decide to talk about tomorrow when it actually arrives. Noticing her silent stare, he leans in and asks what is on her mind. She looks up at him with a serious expression. She finally asks why he is being so kind to her. Tucked into bed, Elendila is absolutely losing it. She finally works up the nerve to ask why he told the Empress he wanted her as a wife. He just tilts his head with a blank look. He honestly doesn't see the big deal and asks why she is even questioning it. Elendila thinks the whole situation is a bit weird, honestly. After a moment of silence over her empty porridge bowl, he asks if the word wife is what is throwing her off. He tells her to relax and not worry about a thing. Standing over her, he gently pats her head to help her settle in. Sir Knight finally clarifies his intentions. He tells her to just think of him as her guardian for now. He explains that he is just an adult looking out for her. He wants to make sure she never has to deal with the cold or any more pain. Under the quiet night sky, he keeps his hand on her head to keep her grounded. Elendila stares into the distance and cannot help but ask why he is going this far for her. Elendila closes her eyes with a peaceful smile and whispers a soft thank you. Our boy Yashabal is visibly stunned by the gratitude, standing there like he just heard the impossible. He stands in silence for a moment before reaching out to gently stroke her hair as she sleeps. Eventually, he just takes a seat by her side and watches over her while the room stays quiet. A brutal reminder of Elendila's past. Her old tormentors haunt her sleep, promising to cut off her legs if she ever tries to sneak back into the palace. She bolts awake in a cold sweat, realizing she is in an unfamiliar room. Her first instinct is pure panic as she wonders where she is. Desperate to escape, she scrambles to her feet with tears in her eyes. To her, being found by her royal family means a one-way ticket back to hell. While Yashabal casually approaches her door, Elendila is already spiraling. She is convinced that being caught again means being dragged behind a horse as punishment. The door creaks open and our boy peeks his head in to check on her. He asks if she is awake, but his presence only sends her fear into overdrive. Elendila hits the panic button and tries to swan dive out the window to get away. Yashobal's reflexes are on another level as he lunges forward to catch her midair before she hits the ground. Back inside, she immediately ducks under a table and curls into a ball. She is trembling with fear, convinced he is just another messenger sent by her brothers to finish the job. Yashabal looks over and asks if she recognizes him. Elendila immediately hits the panic button, begging him not to hurt her. Continued pleas echo from under the table. The words "don't hit me" seem to cut right through the knight's composure. Elendila is totally broken, explaining she did not mean to end up here. She even begs him not to call her brothers, which is a massive red flag. It finally clicks for our boy. He realizes the kind of hell she must have lived through with her own family. A gentle voice tells her to calm down as he tries to bridge the gap. Crouching to her level, he introduces himself and promises she is safe with him. She is not buying it for a second and calls him a liar. To her, every kind word is just another trick before the next beating. Tears stream down her face as she repeats how scared she is. Yashobal stands firm, promising again that he will never take her back there. Yashabal asks if she is in pain, but his words only make her focus on the name he used. To her, being called Ellen is a painful reminder that he does not know her whole story. She reveals that her full name is actually Elendila. In this world, that name carries a heavy insult, marking her as the daughter of a woman with a ruined reputation. Yashabal repeats the shortened name with a look of pure confusion. He is clearly struggling to understand why she is so hung up on her full name. As Elendila struggles to pronounce his name, the knight realizes she still doesn't remember him. He calmly introduces himself as Yashobal once again, hoping to awaken even the faintest memory. Yashabal locks eyes with her and makes his position clear. He isn't here to hurt her, he is her official guardian now. Elendila connects her memories of Japan and making pudding to her current reality. She looks at the knight and tries to confirm if he is truly just a protector. The vibe takes a sharp turn when she calls him her groom. Yashobal looks like his brain just stopped working while Elendila panics, wondering if she got the details wrong. Yashabal shuts that idea down immediately. He corrects her, stating he is strictly her guardian and nothing more. This realization hits hard. To Elen, having a groom simply means finally having a family of her own. He promises to stay by her side until she finds the right person. For a girl who has lost everything, that person is already right in front of her. She remembers how he found her when she was alone in the cold. He is the only reason she is still alive. In her eyes, there is nobody else who could ever compare. He has set a bar that no one else can reach. She drops into a deep bow to apologize for the misunderstanding. Yashobal keeps it cool, telling her there's no need for apologies. The knight scoops her up to check for injuries. He is taking her for a medical exam immediately to make sure she is healthy. He kicks the door open and calls for the doctor without wasting a single second. Sire Foch. He turns in surprise as he presents the girl and demands an immediate medical checkup. Elendila is left completely stunned, having fully expected the famous doctor to be a man. He realizes she is standing in front of the real deal and recognizes her. Gossip about a forbidden royal romance starts flying while the little girl is still in his arms. Ellen flails around in a panic, trying to shut down the rumors before they get any worse. Saifosh immediately lists off her physical condition, noting everything from her lack of sleep to the frostbite on her skin. When he tries to claim he is too busy for a routine visit, Yashabal shuts him down by calling out his name. Realizing this place is for healing rather than torture, Ellen finally stops fighting. Our boy stays close, making sure his new charge gets the medical attention she needs. Even when she tries to tell him the soldiers should come first, he does not move an inch. Yashabal is clear about his priorities, and he is not leaving her side until the work is done. Awkward silence fills the room as he continues his intense stare. Both the doctor and the girl let out a heavy sigh, knowing they have already lost the argument. The doctor realizes he has no choice but to follow orders. Since Yashobal is the one calling the shots, he has to treat the child even if she is from the enemy kingdom. Ellen knows the vibes are off. Being a royal from the kingdom that started the war means people usually aren't lining up to help her. They move to a private room for a proper checkup. The doctor asks to see her back, and Ellen just keeps apologizing for being a burden. One look at the girl's back, and the doctor's heart drops. He finally sees the physical reality of what this child has been through. Seeing the professional's dark expression, Ellen starts to panic. The doctor can barely process the level of abuse she is witnessing. This poor kid is literally apologizing for being an inconvenience while she is the one who's hurt. She's so used to being treated like trash that she thinks her pain is a problem for others. The doctor is totally drained by the sight of it. He curses the kingdom of Rincy for being so heartless toward their own people. Accepting the harsh reality of her situation, Ellen looks down. Everything happening now feels like a natural consequence to her. A flag of the kingdom hangs in the background as a grim reminder. This entire massacre was fueled by a deep-seated hatred for her royal family. Apologizing for being a burden, she keeps her head low. It feels wrong to take up space in the ward when her injuries aren't life-threatening. A hand suddenly drops onto her head, stopping her thoughts in their tracks. The doctor steps in to offer a moment of comfort. He tells our girl to stop apologizing because there is zero need for it. Shock washes over the professional's face as he looks closer. He wants to know exactly when the girl stopped receiving proper medical care for these old wounds. Seeing the web of scars covering the child's back is too much to handle. The doctor loses her composure, realizing this abuse has been going on from the very beginning. Ellen tries to play it cool by saying she is not in any pain, but the doctor can see right through the act. Seeing a child so used to suffering is clearly breaking his heart. The professional starts crying and shouting about how amazing the Empress is for saving a kid from such a horrible family. He is officially a superfan now. He goes into full fan mode, screaming his head off with passion. Our girl just sits there coughing while she watches the sudden outburst. After wrapping her up in a cozy blanket, the doctor asks about her past. Ellen admits she was staying in the detached palace. The doctor is completely floored when he realizes the girl was basically living in a pile of rubble. He can't wrap his head around how cruel the Rincer royals were. Hearing about that old home is the final straw for the professional. He curses the dead kingdom and praises the Empress for being a true lifesaver. The doctor promises to take things slow and heal every single injury one by one. He is determined to fix the damage those royals left behind. The doctor examines her bones, clearly puzzled by what he finds. Once the checkup is over, she thanks him for his help. Our MC stays quiet while the professional gets to work. A sudden knock at the door breaks the silence as a visitor asks for permission to enter. Yashoba walks in to check on the progress. Siafosh confirms everything is under control and promises to prepare some medicine very soon. Instructions are given to place the medicine by her pillow. Once she is out, a massive stomach growl suddenly echoes through the entire room, totally red in the face. The kid starts apologizing for the loud noise. The doctor just laughs it off and Yashobal reveals that food is already being prepared in her room. She tries to play it cool by claiming she normally has way more self-control than this. The expert just wants to know which room he needs to visit later. After mentioning her meal from yesterday, the embarrassment really starts to sink in. She is terrified that they are going to judge her for being so hungry. Our girl catches a stray memory of the palace, Whenever she mentioned being hungry, the royals would just point fingers and call her greedy or annoying. Sayafosh is absolutely stunned by what he is hearing. He asks what Ellen means by normally and why she is bringing up yesterday as if it was a good day. The doctor asks about her usual meals and the answer is devastating. Ellen admits she had to grow her own vegetables in a hidden garden just to stay alive. Yashabal is so frustrated by the cruelty of the royals that he starts banging his head against the door. Ellen mentions that the recent snowstorm actually destroyed her only food source. She explains that she only got to eat if she helped out in the kitchen. Sayafosh looks completely crushed while Yashabal tries to hold back his rage. Ellen actually blames herself for not being helpful enough. She keeps the detail about digging through trash to herself because it is just too miserable to say out loud. The doctor finally breaks down in tears over how much the kids suffered. He curses the kingdom of Rincy before realizing there is nothing left to destroy. Sayafosh was losing it, sobbing about how great the Empress was while Ellen just felt guilty. The girl knew the praise for their enemy only highlighted how much everyone hated her own kingdom. Yeshabal had seen enough of the waterworks. He scooped the kid up and headed back to her room. He made it clear that she needed to get some food in her system. After a quick bath, they got her dressed and ready for the day. The new outfit hit her with a wave of nostalgia. It looked just like the traditional clothes she remembered from her previous life. She noticed the subtle differences between the European vibes of Rincy and the Asian style of Yashobal's country. As she brushed her hair, she couldn't help but wonder about the culture of the empire. Today's breakfast was a spread of rice porridge and gyoza. Our girl finally got to dig in and enjoy a meal instead of being the one in the kitchen. Yashobal sipped his tea and dropped a heavy question. He needed to know if she could really deliver 1,000 unique recipes or if she was just playing for time. Yashobal watches her in silence from across the table. Hélène meets his gaze with total confidence, promising that she can handle the massive task ahead. The knight is far from convinced, but Hélène doesn't blink. She explains that her secret weapon is the culinary knowledge she brought over from her past life. To her, the quantity of the dishes isn't the problem at all. The real difficulty is that simply serving a meal isn't going to be enough to survive the Empress's judgment. She knows she has to tailor every single bite to match Kashana's mood and health at that exact moment. Yashobal listens as she breaks down the high-level strategy needed to stay alive. Suddenly, Yashobal interrupts to ask if all food isn't basically the same. Her world just stopped for a second as she processes this legendary lack of taste. He keeps going, claiming that food doesn't change based on who is eating it. He even points out her own bowl of porridge as an example of a simple, universal meal. This man really has no appreciation for the culinary arts. Yashabal just keeps sipping his tea, like he didn't just drop the most unhinged take. That kind of logic is enough to give anyone a headache. She actually kind of gets the point he is making. Her old memories are flooding back, reminding her that some people really do just treat eating like a chore. Working at that small shop in her past life meant seeing customers like that every day. Convenience store meals are the ultimate survival food, since they are fast, cheap, and easy to clean up. There is no denying that fast food hits the spot. It is truly delicious in its own way, and there is nothing wrong with that. A veteran like Yashobal probably doesn't have time for high standards, but as she looks at her porridge and gyoza, something feels different. Yashabal lets out a curious hum as she describes the perfect temperature of her meal. It is soft and exactly between hot and cold. He asks if she mentioned her concerns to the person who prepared the meal. Elendila gets all flustered and covers her face while remembering her struggle. He reminds her that he did tell the cooks about her almost burning herself on that porridge yesterday. He even made sure they knew about the gyoza on her plate. Normally, soldiers and adults would want these things to be massive and stuffed with meat. Those dudes in the back are definitely living their best life with those huge portions. But since she's just a kid with a small appetite, she can't handle all that heavy protein. The chef took that to heart and started prepping something much lighter. Every single gyoza was crafted to be just a tiny bit bigger than a child's bite. They were even packed with finely chopped veggies instead of just grease. This way she can enjoy the presentation and see the quality of the filling with every bite. Seeing all that effort makes her realize how much someone actually cares about her well-being. Our girl opens the steamer and notices how the cook went out of their way to make everything easy for her to eat. It hits different knowing she was finally being thoughtfully considered after everything she has been through. Yashabal watches as she explains that just cooking 1,000 dishes for the Empress isn't going to cut it. She is determined to truly understand the feelings of her new ruler and the vibe of the whole empire. Our MC vows to prepare every single plate with genuine care while Yashabal takes it all in. After a long silence, he simply tells her that he understands. He acknowledges her gratitude toward the cooks, but he is about to drop a major reality check. Yashobal is still playing devil's advocate, wondering if simple porridge is actually enough to impress anyone. Our girl doesn't even bother arguing, just beaming with pure confidence. She switches focus to check if he's cool with eggs. He gives a quick confirmation, then decides it's time to finally make a move toward the kitchen. Zero time is wasted as she grabs his arm and starts dragging him off. She's ready to cook right now. Yashabal keeps up his food is just fuel logic, while our girl starts cracking eggs into the pan. She is on a mission to prove him wrong with every sizzle. A few quick chops later, and she presents a tray of perfect rolled eggs. Our MC asks for his thoughts, but he is giving absolutely nothing back. He is still struggling to see the point, so she hits him with the facts. The colour is the first big giveaway. She explains that there is a dark version, a mixed version, and even one with a secret filling. It is basically an egg masterclass. Bro really just doubled down and said they are all the same thing. She stays composed and tells him to just start tasting already. He picks up a piece and finally takes a bite. The whole room is waiting for a reaction. His face is a total blank slate as he chews. Our girl starts stressing, remembering how he had the same stone-cold energy when he tried her pudding. She explains her logic, noting that the Empress looked exhausted and needed the boost from a sweet, nutritious pudding. Yashabal takes it all in while picking up another bite. She watches him closely, whispering that she understands as he continues eating. He admits that the flavors are actually distinct. She lights up immediately, desperate to know which version he prefers. It all comes down to the most important part of any omelette, the broth. Our boy just lets out a thoughtful hum as she gets ready to reveal her secret weapon. Rinse it is a far cry from a Japanese supermarket. This kitchen lacks the convenience of instant stock, bonito flakes, or seaweed, forcing her to look elsewhere for flavor. Luckily, she found something even better in the royal pantry. A massive pot of high-quality banquet soup was already bubbling and ready to be used. By using a roasted chicken and vegetable stock known as fond de volaille, she adds a layer of richness. A generous helping of sugar completes her first golden omelette. The second version features chopped spinach and a gooey cheese center. Despite the masterclass in cooking, he is still eating with zero expression, leaving her wondering if she actually impressed him. Yashobal singles out the third plate. He asks about the green chili pepper, noting this would be his choice if he had to pick one. She breaks down the recipe. Green chili, garlic and herbs are kneaded into a paste and tucked inside a thin omelette. This was a legendary bar snack in her past life. She wonders if a stone-cold knight like him even knows how to party. The mood takes a nosedive when he stops after only one bite. She is already panicking, asking if something went wrong. His words are playing on loop in her head. He didn't call it delicious. He just said he would pick it if he had to. The overthinking spiral is in full effect. She starts to wonder if all three dishes were actually mid and he is just being polite. Unable to handle the heavy silence, she finally works up the nerve to ask if the food just didn't suit his taste. Yashabal gives his stamp of approval, calling the meal excellent while our girl watches on with bated breath. He suggests presenting the dish to the Empress herself, catching her off guard as she offers a flustered thank you. Her brain immediately goes into overdrive, wondering if he was just poison testing the food this whole time. With tears in her eyes, she insists this was a special meal just for him, but he stays stone cold and keeps pushing for the Empress to try it. Our boy argues that getting on the big boss's good side is a must, leaving her stuttering as she tries to find the words to object. Suddenly, the Empress herself appears at the window, teasing them about the cute little chef's special delivery. Everyone hits the panic button as she hops into the kitchen, telling her advisor to keep it cool while the vibes hit an all-time high. Kushana casually invades the kitchen through a window, looking way too cool for someone just following her nose. She admits she was just out on business until the smell of something delicious brought her here. Ibrahim is in the corner, having a minor breakdown over her lack of royal decorum. She hops down into the room as Yashobal immediately pivots to offer up his plate. He tells her he likes the fried egg but insists she should take it instead. Our girl Elendila is just standing there frozen like a deer in headlights. A voice suddenly cuts through the air and shuts the conversation down instantly. The mood shifts from food talk to a heavy lecture in a split second. Kushana towers over Yashabal and starts giving him a piece of her mind. She tells him he needs to fix his lack of greed and stop giving good things away to everyone. She gets right in his space to explain the Agdeniogel way of life. According to her, a true member of the royal family should keep what they love and never let it go. Yashobal watches from the sidelines as the attention shifts back to our MC. Ibrahim asks the princess if she is actually being serious while she stammers out a nervous response. He leans in with an intense gaze, looking like he has some deep suspicions. He just wants to know exactly when the next meal is going to happen. Ibrahim brushes off the food talk, leaving our girl lost as she tries to offer him a breakfast omelette instead. The advisor leans in with an intense gaze that makes her break a sweat, desperately trying to figure out what he is fishing for. Yashobal's protective aura turns terrifying, sending Ibrahim into a panic as he insists he hasn't done anything wrong. Kushana breaks the heavy mood with a laugh and starts playing with the princess's hair, despite the girl shivering from the sudden chill. The Empress explains that her top advisor has been obsessed with the taste of that legendary pudding. It turns out the poor guy spent his entire night failing to recreate the recipe, leaving him in a state of culinary defeat. Kushana teases that his stress is a one-way ticket to going bald, ignoring his frantic protests while she asks the MC for help. Elendila is absolutely glowing. She beams with joy while thanking Kushana, admitting she has always wanted to try a style like this. Our girl is ready to work. She announces she will start by making an omelette for the Empress, leaving Ibrahim in a panic as he desperately shouts about the missing pudding recipe. Kushana is totally on board. She smiles and tells the princess she is looking forward to tasting her cooking. The schedule is set. They are heading to Agdoniog in just 3 days. Back in her room, a knight tells Elendila to remain calm until the departure. He apologizes for not being able to assign her any maids, though she quickly insists she can take care of herself. There is a harsh reason for the lack of help. Apparently, the people of the Empire would not want to serve a girl from a fallen kingdom like Rincy. The mood turns heavy. While Endela sits alone in her room, the former servants of her palace are being rounded up to be sold into slavery. Elendila is just sitting there while her mind is elsewhere. She can't stop thinking about the Rincy servants being dragged off into slavery. Flashback time. Her sister actually burned her mother's robe just to be petty, laughing while the room filled with smoke. This handkerchief is the only piece she was able to salvage. It is the last physical connection she has to her mother. She has been hiding it in the detached palace for years. No shot she is leaving it behind now. Our girl peeks out the door to talk to the guards. She tells them she left a mother's keepsake back at her old house. She hits them with the puppy dog eyes and asks if she can go grab it. She promises to be back before they even miss her. Surprisingly, the guards aren't NPCs. They agree that a mother's gift is too important to lose and tell her to go for it. The guards refuse to let a kid wander the ruins alone. She tries to politely decline the escort to save them the trouble. She promises to be quick. She does not want to keep them from their actual duties. They will not hear it. Protecting her is their top priority, and they are sticking to her side. They arrive at the wreckage. She wonders why her home was so despised while the guards stare at the ruins in horror. The room is a total disaster zone. They cannot believe she actually survived in this pile of rubble. She tries to look on the bright side by mentioning it kept the rain out. The guards are stunned into a heavy silence. She finally finds her keepsake. Behind her, the guards are broken, cursing the old kingdom and praising the Empress for destroying it. She finds the vegetable seeds she had planned to plant in the spring. Bringing extra items definitely wasn't part of the agreement. She tentatively asks, "May I take the seeds too?" The energy shifts instantly as the guards draw their steel. They tell her to stay calm and stay close. They shout into the darkness. "Who's there?" A heavily armored knight suddenly lunges from the shadows. This dude is on another level, disarming the guards and tossing them aside like ragdolls. Elendila can only watch as her protection gets dismantled. "A knight of Rincer," the guard gasps. Realizing they are outmatched, they grab the princess and prepare to run for it. The knight screams at them to move, his voice booming through the wreckage. One of the guards instantly recognizes the armor of a royal guard. Elendila is frozen, realizing this is a man who once served her own family. The guard picks her up and starts running as fast as he can. He tries to explain to the princess exactly who he thinks this knight is. Things turn deadly as the knight deals a fatal blow to the other guard. Elendila watches in horror while blaming herself for bringing them to this place. She screams at the remaining guard to drop her and run. Her face contorts as she realizes she is the only reason they are in danger. The guard is stunned as he coughs up blood. He realizes that if he were alone, he might have stood a chance at surviving. A sudden realization hits the guard as he stands his ground. He knows a royal guard is forbidden from killing a member of the royal family. He yells for someone to inform Lord Yashabal or the Empress immediately. The guard is left reeling from the logic. He questions if she is the royal they are talking about, as a situation like this is unheard of. Elendila screams for the guards to get out of there while they still can. They do not need to be told twice and immediately bolt down the long hallway. Facing the danger alone, she sticks a hand out and orders the mystery figure to stop. She was already prepared for the fact that this meeting could end her life. Any other soldier would have taken her out already, but she is betting on a gut feeling. She stays perfectly still as the armored knight closes the distance. The knight pulls off his helmet, revealing the face of Lord Raven. He looks like he is seeing a ghost as he questions why the princess is hanging out with enemy soldiers. A new voice cuts through the air with a savage insult from the shadows. Another girl steps forward, looking down at Elendila with pure venom in her eyes. This is Marlika, our MC's sister, and she seems genuinely pressed that Elendila is still breathing. The princess just takes the verbal abuse with a calm silence. Marlika starts venting about her maid clothes while throwing major shade at Elendila's fresh look. She is clearly bitter that her royal lifestyle has taken such a massive hit. Marlika finally puts the pieces together and starts losing her mind. She screams at our girl for getting too close to the people they should be hating. The insults keep flying as Marlika calls her a traitor for siding with the ones who wiped out their family. She is clearly projecting all her trauma onto the one person she still has left. A memory of the invasion shows Marlika spiraling from the constant fear of being caught. She assumes our MC has just been hiding in terror like everyone else. Elendila realizes that her sister is finally feeling the same terror she lived with every day. Except for her, the monsters were not invaders. They were her own brothers and sisters. Seeing her supposedly useless sister alive and well is just too much for Malika to handle. Our MC connects the dots and realizes why her sister is being so extra right now. The frightening sister from her memories is officially gone. All that is left is a broken girl who is just straight up jealous of our MC's new life. Elsewhere, a soldier bursts into the room to alert the Empress that a survivor was found with the princess. Yashabal and Kushana look completely unbothered by the sudden interruption. Malika goes full villain mode and orders Lord Raven to execute Elendila on the spot. Our MC stands there frozen as her sister labels her a complete annoyance that needs to be deleted. Malika demands to know who Raven is actually serving to remind him of his place. With a heavy heart, he acknowledges her as his princess. The screaming does not stop as Malika loses her mind, questioning why he is hesitating to do what he was told. She keeps ordering him to just do it already. Malika shoves her way past them, leaving the knight with a choice he clearly hates. Raven looks down at the tiny princess with a somber expression before finally gathering her into his arms. In a shocking twist, Raven whispers a wish for her happiness before tossing her straight out the window. Down below, Yashabal spots the falling princess and looks like he is about to spring into action. We start with a drop as Elendila screams while plunging toward the ground. Luckily, Yashabal is right there to pull off the ultimate heroic catch. Our boy actually looks stressed for once as he pulls her in. He demands to know what is going on and asks if she is hurt. Elendila tries to play it cool and tells him she is fine. Meanwhile, the soldiers nearby are trying to figure out what kind of chaos is going down inside the ruins. Back inside the wreckage, Princess Malika is having a full-blown meltdown. She screams at the air, calling Elendila a traitor for getting close to those barbarians. Raven keeps his cool and focuses on the mission. He warns her that they must leave at once because the escaped soldiers are bringing reinforcements. Malika is not having it and starts roasting her own guard for daring to give her orders. She is clearly more worried about her pride than the army closing in on them. Raven just bows and offers his apologies for the disturbance. It turns out these Rincer knights are bound by a magical oath that locks them into absolute loyalty, no matter how toxic the royals get. Malika points a trembling finger as she shifts the blame. First of all, this is your fault. Because you're weak, all of this happened. Elendila remains silent as the screaming continues. Why do I have to sneak away like this? Elendila watches them from a distance. Sister, what are you running away for? Her gaze turns cold and hateful. Huh. Ah, I see someone born in the gutter like you would not understand. She clutches her chest, eyes wide with delusion. I'm a princess. I cannot die in a place like this. Malika continues her rant about her birthright, claiming she must always be surrounded by servants. Elendila can only stare as she asks if running away will really bring back their old life. Malika lets out a derisive scoff. Ha, I'm not like you, clinging to barbarians. Elendila realizes that with Rincer fallen and no people left to protect, the title of royal has become meaningless. Malika is fully delusional, bragging that some allied country in the south will treat her like a queen just because she used to get marriage proposals. Elendila just watches her, wondering if her sister realizes those offers only existed as long as their kingdom did. Looking around the empty ruined room, Elendila asks the real question. She wonders if Malika is even running away for the sake of Rincer. She presses further, asking if a royal should not survive to fulfill their duty to the people who are currently being enslaved. Malika just lets out a mocking laugh and calls her stupid. Even Raven looks completely thrown off by her lack of care. She snaps that the future of the country is a job for her older brothers, not her. Elendila reflects on how bizarre it is that they spent 7 years together, but never shared the same reality. To Malika, the only job of a princess was to be pretty and loved. Malika keeps laughing and throwing insults, calling her a disgrace and a slave child. Elendila finally realizes that despite sharing a language and a country, they will never understand each other. Elendila realizes the people Malika calls barbarians were actually the only ones who listened to her. The crew from Agdoniog showed her more respect than her own blood ever did. Her whole life, her only concept of royalty was her toxic sister and siblings. The Rincer royals were basically just a bunch of hot-headed bullies who took their anger out on anyone beneath them. To them, being a royal meant having a license to be cruel. While the rest of the country saw the Agdoniog family as demons, her own experience told a different story. Just as she starts reflecting, someone calls out to her. Raven drops a bombshell about a secret escape route hidden in the palace. He plans to smuggle them out before they get caught. The news catches her completely off guard. He does not waste time and asks if she is coming along. Ibrahim is losing it over the fact that they had such a major secret hidden right under their noses. Ibrahim gathers everyone in the freezing snow to set the record straight. He makes it clear that the only reason the princess is safe is because the Empress granted her protection. The mood turns cold as he brings up the secret passage they were hiding. This dude is not letting the deception slide. Yashabal tries to play diplomat and offers a formal apology to the stressed advisor. Ibrahim is not backing down. He warns that this whole situation has become extremely dangerous. He argues that her safety is being handled poorly. and it makes the whole family look guilty. At this rate, the Empire might lose all faith in the Rincy royals. He starts questioning if her fall from the window was actually a calculated escape plan. He insists they need more answers before deciding her final fate. Ibrahim is done playing games and insists on reporting the whole mess to the Empress. He is practically begging for a chance to explain why things went sideways. Instead of getting mad, Kushana just smiles and tells Ibrahim to chill out. She basically tells him to stop being a bully to a small child. The Empress goes full mother mode, patting the girl's head and calling the whole situation pitiful. Ibrahim is losing his mind over the casual vibe, while Yashabal just stays silent. Our MC finally speaks up and confirms the secret passage is real. Since she lived in that detached palace, she knows exactly where it is hidden. Ibrahim tries to trap her with the news, but she clarifies that knowing about the exit does not mean she was planning a getaway. The vibe gets tense as the Empress listens closely to the explanation. She breaks it down with a simple logic check. Raven said they were leaving, but he never once used the word escape. A dark flashback hits as we see her siblings hunting her down with weapons. Back then, that secret passage was her only shield against her own family. Flashback to the struggle days when everything was falling apart. Stumbling onto that secret passage was a total accident born from pure desperation and a lack of options. Lord Raven was the one who delivered the bad news about the route. A massive earthquake had turned the tunnel into a collapsed mess 5 years ago, making it a complete dead end. The warning was clear: stay away for safety. For our MC, it was a settled fact that the passage was nothing more than a dangerous trap. A sharp smirk from the Empress signals she is loving every second of this drama. She is pressing for an explanation for why the stories do not line up. The silence is deafening as the logical contradiction finally hits home. If the passage is unusable, then the whole escape plan was a massive lie. A dark theory starts to take shape about the knight's true intentions. Ending his own princess's life might have been the only way to save her from a far worse fate at the hands of the enemy. That final duty of loyalty is a heavy burden to carry. His offer to take the girl along was not about finding freedom, but about providing a swift end before things got even uglier. The MC realizes why the knight looked so relieved. She did not nod in agreement because she knew his kindness was meant to be a final mercy. Everything clicks as she understands Lord Raven's true motives. He was simply reassured that she finally had a refuge that would keep her from choosing death. The weight of the truth finally breaks her. She can only manage a small mumble as the tears start flowing uncontrollably. Yashabal reaches out and tells the princess to stop rubbing her eyes. She tries to choke out a response through her heavy sobs. Apologizing for the outburst, she admits how embarrassing this whole situation is. He gently pulls her hands away, seeing right through her attempts to hide the pain. He warns her that her eyes are going to swell up if she keeps it up. Without a soft cloth on hand, he just stays close to make sure she is okay. A quiet question breaks the heavy atmosphere. He asks if that knight was actually kind to her. Through her tears, she confirms that Lord Raven was the only person who actually treated her with respect. Yashoba just takes it in with a somber expression, realizing how much that knight truly meant to her. Swallowing her grief, she steps forward and makes a desperate plea to the Empress to spare the lives of the two people left behind. Ibrahim is low-key panicking while the Empress is reminded of her original promise to just enslave everyone. The argument is made that losing a knight as talented as Raven would be a major waste for the Empire. She doubles down on her request, explaining how Raven worked his way up from being a commoner through pure effort. She is certain that a man that loyal would be a perfect addition to the Empress's own army. Kushana is not buying the pitch, pointing out that the world is already full of capable knights. She does not see any reason to keep someone around whose heart still belongs to an enemy nation. The vibe turns ice cold as the Empress calls our girl out by her title and tells her the request is actually quite cruel. Our MC is left completely stunned as her plan starts to fall apart. The Empress believes that letting a knight die while fulfilling his final duty is the ultimate form of mercy. To her, simply witnessing his final moments with a well done is the only reward a loyal soldier needs. The Empress actually caves and agrees to the request. She says she just cannot say no to a plea this desperate. She looks down at the girl with a knowing smile. It is obvious that Knight must have been really kind to her. Kushana says saving people who show kindness is a virtue. She promises to do her absolute best to grant the wish, leaving our MC totally stunned. The waterworks start for real as the princess bows in gratitude. Kushana just laughs and tells her it is all good. Time to head back and get some rest after all that tension. But as Yashobal carries her away, the princess notices he looks seriously pained. The Empress switches back into leader mode with a sharp order. She tells the guards to make sure the targets stay alive until she arrives. Yashobal speaks up to back the princess' claim. He confirms that the knight is definitely a benefactor who deserves better. Kushana is not buying the story. She points out that the knight abandoned the princess regardless of what the girl says now. The Empress calls the knight a fool who stood by while the princess fell into misery. She sees right through the lies and tells them to stop spouting nonsense. Yashobal stays silent as the heavy question hangs in the air. He wonders if it is even possible for a loyal knight to wish his own royals an honourable death. The whole situation is officially starting to intrigue the Empress. She flashes a sharp smile and decides it is finally time to go see the knight's resolve for herself. We kicks off with a heavy reunion. A former Rincy guard is on the floor in a full dogeza, begging for forgiveness. Our girl is totally lost, stuttering out a why as she looks at the man on the floor. She cannot wrap her head around why he is the one saying sorry. Raven carries the weight of guilt, admitting he abandoned her despite his duty to protect the royals. Elendila immediately fires back, reminding him that she was the one who ordered him to run. She takes the blame on herself, claiming her choice to go to the detached palace caused the whole disaster. But the knight shifts the focus back to the status of his fellow guard. Then comes the bombshell. The other soldier is actually alive. Elendila just sits there, completely stunned by the news. Cut to the infirmary where the doc is working his magic on the survivor. Raven admits he thought the guy was done for, but he managed to pull through. Elendila is not letting him just brush the topic aside. She is starting to wonder if Raven intentionally softened the blow during their confrontation. Elendila couldn't stop wondering if Raven had intentionally tried to save her by making her fall look less like an execution. She pushed the thought aside and gently asked the knight to lift his head, but he remained frozen on the floor in deep regret. Raven's voice was cold with duty as he admitted he prioritized his mission over everything else in that moment. He truly believed the danger of his own death, and the failure to report her survival was a much greater threat than the loss of her life. His composure finally cracked as he confessed that allowing a child to die was the ultimate act of shame for a knight. The raw agony on his face was impossible to hide as the weight of his perceived sin finally caught up to him. Processing his words, Elendila realized the harsh logic of the invasion actually made sense from their perspective. In their world, choosing to prioritize a soldier's duty to prevent further damage wasn't seen as a mistake, but as a necessary and logical choice. A high-ranking Agdoniog officer stepped forward to explain the core philosophies of the path and virtue that guided their empire. He took full responsibility for the situation, admitting he was the one who should feel the most regret for putting his soldiers in danger. He emphasized their fundamental principle that children must always be protected, regardless of the cost. A light bulb finally went off for Elendila as she realized the true reason behind the strange mercy she had been shown since the very beginning. She looked toward Yashobal with newfound understanding, realizing his gentleness was a direct reflection of his nation's highest ideals. Even as the princess of a fallen kingdom, she felt a sudden and profound respect for the remarkable culture of Agdoniog. Our girl is finally putting the pieces together. It is wild that a kingdom like Rincy managed to draw the hate of a nation that values virtue. She asks point blank what Rincy actually did to them. The officer is hesitant, telling her she is probably better off not knowing. She admits she was living in a bubble, thinking some cooking would solve everything. The officer warns her to stop if she is just being curious, but she is serious. Seeing the pain in their eyes makes her realize that even beheading the king was not enough. She can see they are still suffering after all this time. She has grown to love the Empress and Yashobal and wants to understand their trauma. She needs to know the source of their pain to figure out her next move. Dropping to the floor, she begs for the truth. The officer is clearly feeling the pressure of her resolve. He lets out a deep sigh and starts sharing the Empire's secrets. Yashobal and the other 5 princes are all sons of the Empress, but they are not actually her biological kids. The Empress has actually been around for over 50 years, but that dragon blood keeps her looking like she is still in her prime. Elendila is shocked to learn that her boss is basically a semi-immortal powerhouse. She had pretty much given up on the idea of ever having an heir of her own, but then a pregnancy announcement last spring changed the entire trajectory of the Empire. Our girl is just taking all this massive lore in while they continue the story. The whole country went into celebration mode, with gifts and letters of congratulations pouring in like rain. Kushana was so stoked that she even wanted to conquer more nations before the baby was born just to expand their territory. She looked happier than words could describe as she prepared for her long-awaited child. However, the vibe took a dark turn about 6 months later when the kingdom of Rincy started causing major trouble. They were doing some truly shady stuff, like driving monsters from their land into other countries on purpose. They even attacked a pair of Agdonial Geld doctors who were just trying to save people during an epidemic. The people of Rincy had this massive ego because they believed they were descendants of gods. But those 2 incidents were way past the point of being acceptable, even for them. To settle the score and hold them accountable, the Empress decided to pay a personal visit to the King of Rincy. The guy started apologizing immediately once she showed up to address the situation. The king was playing the role of a perfect host, promising to meet every demand while throwing a grand banquet in her honor. He even tried to offer her some high-end wine as a peace offering, but she turned it down because she was pregnant at the time. They served her a fresh fruit drink instead, and after 5 different poison tasters gave it the green light, she finally took a sip. But the story takes a dark turn when the officer reveals that she suddenly started vomiting blood right there at the table. This legendary goddess of war never even groaned on the battlefield, yet she was suddenly writhing on the floor as blood poured out. The king didn't even try to hide his betrayal, laughing while he shouted that her suffering was simply the will of God. Since the empire came in peace with a small escort, they were severely outmatched and lost many soldiers just trying to get her back home. Our girl was losing everything, yet she only had one thing on her mind. She ordered the guards to cut her open right then and there just to save her baby. The child everyone was waiting for was slipping away, but she didn't care about her own life. It was a direct order no matter the cost. The vibe completely shifts to pure tragedy as we see her sitting alone. The child that should have been loved and protected ended up dying right there in her womb. She clutched the bundle, feeling like she failed as a mother. The pain wasn't just physical, it was a cruel reminder of what she couldn't protect. Her scream of pure agony echoed throughout the entire palace. It was a roar of grief that no one who heard it would ever forget. Suddenly, we are back in the present where things are literally heating up. Someone is screaming in pain as flames erupt, leaving Raven completely stunned. Raven just stands there like a total boss while the princess loses her mind. She calls him a filthy commoner, but it's clear his resolve is on another level. Raven explains the rinse of blood contract, which was supposed to fry any knight who touched a royal, but he's standing there completely chill. He casually mentions that the divine punishment didn't even leave a scratch on him. While a mysterious figure reacts in pure shock in the background, Raven lore drops about blessings from other lands. This isn't just magic, it is a completely different level of power. He flashes a confident smirk while revealing that his own blessing comes from a god way higher in the hierarchy than Rince's. The local curse stood zero chance against him. The princess has a total meltdown, unable to accept that a guy with only a pretty face could possess this much power. Raven just leans in, hand on her head, and asks if she is starting to feel the pain. We get a glimpse into the past with scenes of Raven and his little sister living a simple, happy life. He coldly tells the princess that his sister's suffering far outweighed whatever she's going through right now. The flashback shows the young girl being isolated and treated like a complete eyesore by the royals. Those cruel insults about her being a blonde commoner clearly left a permanent scar on Raven's heart. The mask finally slips, revealing Raven's dark intensity as the truth hits like a truck. He was not just being a loyal soldier, he was playing the long game to avenge the sister they treated like dirt. Empress Kushana officially drops her name while looking down at the disaster on the floor. Raven just stands there, realizing things are playing out exactly as he expected. Raven thanks her for the mercy, claiming his life is basically over now that his revenge is finished. Meanwhile, the charred girl is still screaming in agony. He offers to accept whatever judgment the Empress has in store, but she isn't buying it for a second. She literally laughs in his face and calls him out for being a total hypocrite. Raven is left confused as the Empress turns her attention to Ibrahim. She calls him a crafty man, seeing right through his act and knowing he has zero intention of dying today. Ibrahim pulls out some super expensive holy water from Saint Lodovica. He starts pouring it on the burnt body, explaining that even if it only heals minor wounds, it is still top shelf stuff. Raven is stunned, asking if they actually plan on saving Malika after everything that happened. Ibrahim clarifies that while the water won't stop the pain, it is definitely enough to keep her from crossing over. Things take a turn as Raven reacts to a sudden surge of power. Our boy Yashibol just stands there looking unbothered, questioning if such unrefined energy could even be considered a threat. Raven hits the ground and realizes he is completely outclassed by the Ice Prince. Staring at the massive power gap, he figures his journey ends here. Instead of giving up, he lunges forward with a blade, determined to take Malika down with him. Raven gets shut down by a surge of ice magic before he can reach his target. The Empress looks down at the mess and decides that keeping a royal family member alive is a great way to send a message to other kingdoms. She figures this broken princess might still have some use as a political tool. Empress Kushana stops to wonder how she is supposed to finish off this night for good. Yashobol points out he has a rare fire blessing, meaning he can resist his ice corrosion, even if he cannot melt it. Yashobal is strictly against putting Kolkis under Raven's command, despite them both sharing the fire blessing. He's playing it safe, but Empress reminds him that a blessing bearer can't really reach their full potential while working solo. Raven stays silent and frozen on the ground while they debate his future. Noticing the change in his vibe, the Empress looms over him and asks where his polite face went. Permission to kill Princess Malika is the only thing he asks for as he drops his respectful facade. Raven is losing it, shouting that his entire life has been built on revenge. Kushana stares him down and asks if this is really about payback. Ibrahim calls him an insolent fool for not understanding the weight of the Empress's actions. Kushana casually tells him to drop it while Raven looks stunned. With a chilling grin, the Empress explains she has plans for Malika that involve every single part of her. She tells Raven to toss his revenge aside because she is making the most of that girl for her empire. Raven starts yelling that she is being ridiculous, but he gets cut off as ice starts crawling up his body. Kushana makes it clear she only cares about herself and her nation, warning that standing in her way is a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Getting close to the frozen knight, she reveals the kind-hearted Elendila actually begged for his life. She will not let him kill Malika because the little princess did not want him becoming a traitor to his own liege. A dangerous thought crosses her mind as she stares him down. She wonders if killing him first and then taking out Malika herself would technically count as keeping her promise. She starts laughing and asks Ibrahim if that isn't a galaxy brain move. Ibrahim just shakes his head, noting that his boss has zero regard for anyone's feelings when she is in the middle of a scheme. Yashabal is out here laying on the flattery thick, calling Kashana a genius while Raven stays frozen. The Empress is loving the attention, laughing off the Great Sage title while her knight just watches in silence. Yashabal gets serious and asks if the knight is finally ready to drop the revenge plot against Malika. Raven is not having it, snapping back that anyone would want payback if their family was brutally taken out. A small smirk creeps onto Yashabal's face before Kushana interrupts the vibe. She is wondering why this dude is still alive and asks if it is not time to just finish him off. Our guy explains that revenge is only an issue until the heart is broken. Kushana catches on quick, realizing they are about to use the other Rincer princess as a tool. Kushana wonders if Yashobal is really cool with this, since the plan is going to be rough on him too. He just looks down, making it clear he is doing whatever it takes for the sake of Agdon Yogel. Stuck in the ice and losing his mind, Raven demands to know if they are just going to torture him until he flips. He is desperate for answers while the pressure builds. Yashabal steps up to a crystal ball and prepares to broadcast a live feed onto the wall. Raven's face drops as he realizes they are about to show him exactly what is happening to the little princess. Raven is absolutely losing it, convinced he is about to watch a snuff film of his own princess. He grits his teeth and calls them bastards for even thinking about showing him her torture. While Raven goes on a rant about how the Agdanyog Empire are nothing but despicable invaders, a very cheerful face pops up on the wall. Siafosh waves to the camera and asks if the image is coming through clearly. The doctor introduces himself as a special grade psychological specialist and live commentator for the event. He even gives a shout out to the Empress, making sure the VIPs are all tuned in for the show. Raven is completely short-circuited when the screen reveals the little princess standing in a kitchen with a frying pan. Siafosh claps and officially announces the start of the royal cooking show. Our knight is left speechless, wondering what kind of torture involves a spatula and high-end cuisine. Even Siafosh plays it up for the camera, acting surprised that a princess would actually know how to cook. The broadcast for the 13th Princess's cooking show finally kicks off. Raven is stuck watching in pure confusion as the title cards pop up on the wall. Tiny Elendila starts hunting through the storage room for the perfect cake flour. She is taking her sweet time checking every single 10-kilogram bag by hand. She tries to manhandle the bag right in front of her, but she is way too small. No matter how much she grunts and pulls, that sack is not going anywhere. Gravity takes over and sends her flying back onto her butt. Raven nearly has a heart attack while Yashobal just lets out a disappointed cough. The narrator points out she could just weigh the flour right there, but our girl is way too locked in to notice. Someone watches from the doorway to see if she is actually going to give up. Instead of quitting, she starts spreading a cloth on the floor. Even the guys watching the feed have to admit her strategy is actually pretty smart. She starts dragging the bag across the room like a pro. Using the cloth as a sled is definitely a high IQ move to get that flour to the kitchen. The princess faceplants while trying to drag the heavy sack. She screams that she is officially at her limit. The broadcast cuts to a halt because she is bleeding from the impact. Raven is losing his mind and calling them all despicable scum. Siafosh tries to claim all the credit for her clever sled idea. Meanwhile, the princess finally gets her flour weighed and ready. Our doctor goes through the list of ingredients. He seems fine until he spots something unexpected at the bottom. The prince demands lemon zest, leaving the specialist completely stunned. He starts to wonder if Yashabal has actually gone insane. Pure panic sets in as they realize the implications. Siafosh screams for them to stop this madness before it even begins. Tiny Elendila reaches for a metal grater that looks way too big for her hands. The doctor is in the back yelling about how crazy this is. Siafosh warns the princess not to grate her hand while Yashobal watches with a look of disgust. How barbaric, he mutters. Yashabal leans in as the commentary hypes up the next move. Everyone is on edge wondering what tool she is reaching for. She pulls out a massive kitchen knife to slice the lemon, sending Raven into a full-blown panic. The poor guy nearly loses it when she accidentally cuts herself. With tears in her eyes and a shaky smile, she insists she is fine. She is convinced that making perfect treats is the only way to save Raven. The broadcast shifts to her reaching for a hot oven, making Siafosh scream in terror. Meanwhile, Raven finally breaks and collapses under the weight of his guilt. Yashabal towers over the fallen knight, taunting him for his stubbornness. He cannot believe Raven still won't flip sides after seeing the princess suffer like this. Yashobal calls him out for being absolute scum. He reveals that the girl is actually trying to save his entire kingdom, not just him. It is hard for Raven to grasp that the princess is doing all this purely out of royal guilt. He cannot believe she would endure such cruelty for a family that treated her like garbage. The prince breaks down the impossible terms of the deal. Elendila has to present 1,000 dishes over 1,000 days just for the chance to save her people. A cold laugh follows as he mocks the idea of his people ever helping their enemies. He knows the Agdoniog public would never lift a finger for a Rincy princess. Realization hits hard when Raven sees they are just using hope as a weapon. They never intended to release anyone. They just wanted to watch the kid struggle. In his eyes, the Empire leaders are nothing more than demons playing with a child's heart, completely broken. Our boy finally surrenders and asks what he has to do to stop the madness. Yashobal delivers the final command with zero hesitation. If he wants to stay by her side, he must swear total allegiance to the little princess. Despite the lack of proper molds, the treats are finally ready and looking perfect. Elendila beams with pride as she spots her knight and calls out to him. Elendila bows her head and apologizes for ruining his final plan. She admits to getting in the way of the ending he wanted for Malika, leaving Raven stunned. She explains his hidden kindness out loud, knowing he only tried to kill Malika because he could not protect her anymore. Raven cannot believe the little princess saw right through his desperate act. Raven tells her she is far too naive for her own good. He does not understand why she would risk her standing with the Empire just to save her enemies. He points out that the whole deal for her people could have failed because of her meddling. If things had stayed the same, they would have just faded away and been forgotten. He delivers a cold reality check. If she wants to save the many, she needs to learn how to abandon the few. Raven is baffled that she would wish to save someone like him or the princess. Yashobal watches the drama unfold with a silent, judging look. Despite his dark choices, she recognizes that he was only serving his royal family. She sees the weight of the duty he carried for a kingdom that is already gone. A knight's ultimate disgrace is ending his own lord's life only to face a blood contract, but the heart wants what it wants. She just wants him to live. Tears streaming down her face, Elendila begs Raven to keep going. She is truly sorry for her weakness, but she just cannot let him throw his life away. Kushana steps in like a total boss and silences the room, scolding the knight for making the girl cry. From now on, he is officially under her command. The Empress pulls the crying girl into a hug while throwing shade at Raven for being ungrateful. Instead of a thank you, all he had was a lecture for his savior. Scene change to the official tasting. Kushana eyes the snacks with curiosity, wondering if these are financiers even though they are missing that signature shell shape. Our girl is in pure heaven after the first bite, but her advisor is busy analysing the situation. He is genuinely baffled by the unusual texture she managed to pull off. The tech specs on these treats are on another level, leaving the advisor stunned by the lemon and honey combo. He never even considered using butter this way. Ibrahim might be a high-level sage, but even his ego is no match for this cooking. Kushana thinks having a rival like the princess is exactly what he needs to keep his pride in check. She tells him to drop the grim face because it is unbecoming of his station. Overall, she considers the tasting a major win. This dude is in denial mode, claiming he is only being cautious because the food came from a rincy royal. He swears he does not find the princess interesting at all while his face turns bright red. Kushana just lets it slide and drops his travel orders for tomorrow. He is heading out to Agdan Yorgul with Yashabal, and that is final. She mentions that she was going to pack him some snacks for the journey, but since he is not a fan, she will just keep them. Ibrahim looks like his entire world just collapsed. The Empress happily starts polishing off the rest of the treats for herself. Our boy can only watch in horror as his chance for a snack stash evaporates. Time to head out with the Empress counting on them. The squad gathers in the magic circle to begin their journey. Explaining the teleport mechanics for blessing bearers, they can warp straight to any grand temple under the Holy Church. Yashabal holds onto the girl as the world begins to warp. Location jump to the Agdoniog capital at Great Temple Rigradika. Our MC is feeling the travel sickness hard. Yashabal holds her steady as her head starts spinning from the jump. They arrive inside the temple where the staff is already waiting. Looks like Raven finally hit his limit and collapsed. The priests confirm they were expecting the group's arrival. The temple staff pays their respects to the fourth prince and the sage. Yashabal keeps a protective arm around the girl while they get the official welcome. Time for the temple rituals. A priest gestures toward a nearby statue and tells them to present their offerings. The group moves deeper into the hall toward a large basin. Our girl is worried about her wallet and asks if this miracle costs money. Yashabal just cryptically tells her that a miracle is always returned with another miracle. The priest waives the fee for the group but drops a bombshell. Even though they are guests, the child is still required to present an offering of her own. Ibrahim is completely blindsided by the head count, but Yashobal keeps it cool. He reminds everyone they are traveling with, 3 blessing bearers of ice, knowledge, and fire, and the gate was opened based on that agreement. The priest is starting to sweat, stammering out a protest as Yashabal shuts him down. Ibrahim backs him up, reminding the staff that church law allows unblessed children to accompany others for free. The priest isn't convinced and shouts at them, demanding to know if the girl is actually a blessing bearer. Ibrahim and Yashobal just stare him down while the kid clings to her protector. The priests explain the divine logic behind the gate. If she were just a pitiful child, the god would let her pass out of mercy. but things get complicated if she has a blessing of her own. The priest declares she must fulfill her duty if she is blessed, leaving the girl totally lost. Yashabal explains that some humans are chosen by the gods, using his own ice powers as the perfect example. Yashabal asks if they can actually tell what kind of blessing she has. The priests confirm that the gate counts everyone and records every detail in the transit log. The record keeping is hitting a wall because she is not officially registered. They know she has a blessing, but they cannot confirm anything until she actually uses her power. The temple staff admit they are stuck because they cannot verify the blessing themselves. Yashobal just hums in thought while giving the kid a gentle head pat. He asks her to try and pull out her blessing power. She just looks up at him confused, having no idea where to even start. He tells her to just raise her palm and focus. She tries to follow along, but she is still stuck on the mechanics of it. She puts all her effort into a little chant, but absolutely nothing happens. Yashabal points out that not everyone is born with perfect control over their magic like the elite. He tells the princess to just take it slow and try to stay calm. The panic starts setting in as she worries about disappointing everyone. She knows her protector has faith in her, but she still has no clue what her power actually feels like. The stress finally catches up and she just bursts into tears. The adults scramble for excuses, blaming the crowd or the travel sickness, while she just cries her heart out. Yashoba does not do things halfway and summons a massive white wolf out of nowhere. He calls out its name, Skulhati, as the beast towers over the temple grounds. The sheer presence of the wolf sends the kid into a total panic. Yashabal tries to play it cool, explaining that Skulhati is actually on their side and there's no need to fear him. The adults realize a giant wolf might be a bit much for a babysitter. They decide to bring out a different follower, one that was born recently and will not give the poor girl a heart attack. Yashabal prepares for another round of magic while the girl tries to stop her tears. He promises to summon the new guard right now. A puff of magic reveals the fluffiest little ball of fur anyone has ever seen. The girl just stares in awe as the little creature lets out a tiny squeak. The vibe shifts from terror to pure cuteness in record time. She is officially obsessed with the little cloud of fluff as it rolls around happily at her feet. It looks exactly like a piece of cotton candy, so the name sticks immediately. The princess asks if she can call him that, and the little guy seems to agree with another cheerful squeak. She gets a good look at the fluff ball and officially names him Cotton Candy. She reaches out to ask for a paw, and the little guy is happy to play along. Her eyes turn into hearts from the pure cuteness of it all. She keeps asking for more tricks as the tiny creature steals the show. She scoops the creature up into a big hug, calling him perfect. The guys watch from the sidelines, glad the crying stopped even if she is being spoiled rotten. Things take a serious turn as Ibrahim brings up a major issue. They still don't know what her actual blessing is, and that is going to be a problem. An official steps in with some bad news, since her power is still a mystery. The princess isn't allowed to step foot outside the temple. The priests are keeping the vibes high for Elendila, offering up sugar water and cookies like she is royalty again. They are treating her like a literal VIP while they wait for the adults to arrive. Everything changes when she catches sight of Yashabal and Ibrahim, calling out to them while Cotton Candy stays focused on the snacks. She is clearly relieved to see some familiar faces in this massive temple. Yashabal is looking absolutely drained, staring at the floor with a vibe that screams some major bad news is coming. He looks like a man who just carried the weight of the entire empire on his shoulders. Coming through with a tough reality check, he explains that temple rules mean she has to stay here all by herself. They cannot move her until they figure out what kind of mystery power her blessing actually holds. Ibrahim adds that the public still hates her guts, making this secret temple lockdown the only way to keep her safe. Until the Empress makes a move, she is basically a target for anyone looking for revenge. Our girl is internally struggling with some massive separation anxiety, but tries to hide it behind a quiet nod. She is torn between wanting to be safe and wanting to stay by her favorite knight's side. She reflects on the trouble she might cause by staying near them, even if being alone makes her feel uneasy. Ibrahim tries to keep things light by promising that no random assassins are going to manifest inside a holy temple. Ibrahim tries to play it cool, promising her that assassins do not just spawn in a holy temple. Our girl is not buying it, listing every wild disaster scenario from earthquakes to sky spears, while the guys debunk her doom posting one by one. She is clearly not ready to be left alone in this massive place. The advisor finally hits his limit and cuts the chatter, leaving the knight to just stare into the distance in silence. He starts dragging the knight toward the exit, reminding him they are an hour behind on a mountain of official palace duties. Seeing them head out, she tries to put on a brave face by insisting she is used to being solo and appreciates the worry. This temple is already a major glow-up compared to her old life since everyone here actually treats her with respect. Yashabal is fighting for his life against the emotional damage on the right. On the left, Cotton Candy lets out a cute bark to back up our girl's claims. Our girl is busy training her new fluff ball, ordering Cotton Candy to lie down and roll over like a pro. Yashabal can barely watch, shielding his eyes while the tiny cloud crawls toward him with a happy bark. Training session is a huge success. She hits him with a high five, calling him the perfect boy as they celebrate their new bond. Ilendila looks for some praise, and the knight finally admits he is impressed. Seeing her control the magical beast so well gives him a tiny bit of peace of mind before he heads out. He gives a quiet nod of approval to the little creature. Then, he turns his full attention back to the princess, the mood suddenly getting a lot more serious. Grabbing her hands, the knight apologizes for leaving her behind and promises to send a messenger every single hour just to check in. Ibrahim is losing his mind in the back, questioning if his boss has actually gone insane. Yashobal doubles down on the overprotectiveness, asking if a messenger every 30 minutes would be a better plan. The advisor is officially done, screaming about how every royal in this empire is a walking headache. As the carriage rolls away, our MC stands by the temple doors and gives a big wave. She is solo for the first time in a while, wondering what is coming next. A new face appears, lifting her hood to greet the rare visitors. She introduces herself as Barsha, the official saint of the great temple. Elendila is starstruck as she learns a saint is someone who heals through prayer. Hearing that she also has a blessing makes her feel a little more special. The mood shifts as the princess worries about being stuck until her power is identified. Barsha just smiles, telling her that being loved by God is already a win. Elendila isn't just going to sit around asking for a quick lesson on how to turn her power into a sacred offering. Barsha is happy to help and ready to answer her questions. Time for a demo. Barsha explains that you just have to pour your blessing into a holy cup to make it work. A miracle happens as the basin glows with light. Barsha grabs a few bottles of the fresh healing water to give our girl a parting gift. The bottles are a bit bulky for a kid, but she is still super grateful. Cotton Candy lets out a bark to join in on the thank yous. Our fluffy guard just pulled a storage trick, slurping up the heavy bottles like it is nothing. Our girl is shook, watching him bark like a pro. She gives him a big hug, calling him a genius for making her life easier. Meanwhile, a temple official is already losing his mind in the back, calling for the princess. The poor messenger is playing the world's most stressful game of hide and seek, begging the princess to stay in one spot. He finally spots her tucked away under a shelf. He is panting, claiming his life is on the line if he loses her. She just giggles, admitting she got way too into the game. An hour later, and the cycle repeats as he heads off to check in again. Elendila thinks Yashobal is a sweetheart who would never get mad, but the staff knows she is oblivious. The sun sets and our girl is tucked in, but the vibes are heavy. She can't stop thinking about the people of her kingdom suffering while she gets the royal treatment. Tears start falling as the guilt finally hits her. She realizes she does not even have the right to smile while her people are still suffering. Sobbing through her tears, she realizes she has to cook 1,000 dishes just to leave this place. Desperate thoughts fill her head as she tries to master her power before it is too late. After a night of crying herself to sleep, she runs into Ibrahim outside the temple. She notes it has been a while since their last meeting as he stands there looking exhausted. Ibrahim is losing his mind after hearing she actually scored some holy water from the saint. He is shocked that someone so close to black transformation would reveal such a blessing. The advisor goes full mode, questioning how she even knows about egg usage. Meanwhile, our girl is just stuck on the term black transformation. Cotton Candy decides enough is enough and takes a bite out of the stressed advisor. Ibrahim lets out a yell as the tiny guard goes for blood. The truth about overusing a blessing comes to light, revealing it leads to a loss of control and mind erosion. It is called black transformation and it is as bad as it sounds. Elendila asks the advisor if he is holding up all right. Since he has the blessing of knowledge, she is naturally worried about his mental state. Abraham explains that sages with his blessing rarely deal with black transformations. He notes that the side effects are different for every type of power. The advisor shifts gears and reveals that Prince Yashobal sent her a gift. Our girl cannot believe the Ice Prince is looking out for her like this. A delivery cart arrives packed with rare fruits from the southern lands. Ibrahim explains that the prince wanted her to have the entire stash preserved with magic. He asks if she really thought a royal family would stop at just one cart. If she likes the taste, he has 49 more ready to go. Elendila is absolutely floored by the sheer scale of the delivery. She asks how the prince even knew she was struggling. Ibrahim mentions hearing that she has not been getting enough meat in her diet lately. The priests usually skip meat and fish, but they make an exception for a growing girl. They try to serve it to her, but they are terrified of the kitchen and refuse to let her cook for herself. Elendila realizes the temple priests have zero experience with meat, while she always clears her plate. The lack of flavor is starting to hit. Ibrahim reveals the prince was actually stressing out about how to feed a picky child. The fruit delivery was his grand solution, and our girl can only apologize for the trouble. The fruit surplus is so huge that even giving it away barely makes a dent. She watches as the others celebrate the unexpected treat. A sudden spark of genius hits. With all this fruit sitting around, she realizes it is the perfect time to make parfait. She starts planning out the layers of cream, jelly, and sweet toppings. It is going to be a tall glass of pure happiness. Back in her previous life, her parfaits were legendary. One regular customer was so obsessed, she called them a historical masterpiece. Just as she starts listing the ingredients she needs, a messenger arrives. He is clearly happy to have found her without a long search. The messenger lets her know Prince Yashobal is ready to get her whatever she wants. Little Cotton Candy is hanging out and looking lively as the guy asks if something is on her mind. The temple staff is trying their best to help with the fruit. One of them laughs while holding a knife, admitting he has not actually used one since he was a trainee. The delivery service here is top tier, with fancy crystal glasses arriving in less than 30 minutes. Elendila gets to work while the messenger checks if he has squeezed enough juice for the fruit. The prince definitely did not hold back. She stares up at a wall of crates containing over 300 pieces of fruit, wondering if this is a bit much. It is time for the whipped cream crew to shine. Cotton Candy tries to summon an ice storm to help, but the little puffball only manages to produce a single ice cube. Our girl switches into pro chef mode. She knows a parfait is a complete dessert and explains that every cut of the fruit has to be planned out before the first slice. The layers are coming together with syrup-soaked fruit at the bottom followed by a sweet jam layer. She adds a mountain of whipped cream and plans to top it all off with fresh mint from the garden. Time for the final assembly. Our girl carefully layers the jam and cream before topping it all off with massive chunks of fruit that look almost too good to eat. The masterpiece is finally complete. It is a literal tower of sweets that looks like a flower field in a glass, and the temple staff is absolutely losing their minds at the sight. With the hard work finished, she explains that since temple food is usually just boring cookies, they should thank the prince and dig into this feast together. Out of nowhere, a mysterious woman snatches a cup and starts vibing with the flavors. She is obsessed with the sweet and sour mix, completely ignoring the shocked look on our MC's face. The peaceful lunch plan is officially dead. Our girl can only watch in horror as this random intruder wrecks the group dessert time she works so hard to set up. Everyone is frozen in confusion, while this lady keeps inhaling the sweets without a care in the world. But as she takes a closer look at the intruder, our girl starts to realize this is not just any random trespasser. The high priestess drops everything and demands everyone bow their heads immediately. It turns out the person eating their lunch is Lady Rigradika herself, and the entire temple is shaking with shock. Our girl puts her foot down because that dessert was meant for the kind temple staff who have been looking after her. She tries to explain that it was supposed to be a shared meal for everyone to enjoy together. The intruder drops a massive reveal by claiming she is the actual goddess of the temple and not even human. Elendila isn't intimidated and offers to cook a fresh batch if she just stops stealing food from the elders. Seeing the fire in our MC's eyes, the lady finally agrees to a deal. She gives the command for a personalized dessert and expects immediate results. The vibe takes a sharp turn for the worse when the goddess starts messing with Cotton Candy. Calling the little puffball a weakling is a low blow that no one saw coming. Without waiting for another word, the self-proclaimed deity grabs our girl and drags her off toward the kitchen. The temple staff can only watch in total shock as their guest is kidnapped by their own goddess. Elsewhere in the capital, Yashabal jumps out of his chair after hearing a familiar scream from across the city. Ibrahim is completely over the drama, reminding him that hearing imaginary voices has become his new daily routine. Lady Rigradika gets right in Elendila's face, demanding a home-cooked meal immediately. Our girl is still stuck in the grass while this deity acts like a spoiled child in the middle of a flower field. Elendila points out the major flaw in this plan, noting that there are 0 ingredients out here. The goddess is visibly baffled that a meal won't just spawn from thin air. The deity argues that she saw plenty of food back at the temple, but Elendila has to explain basic physics to her. Humans aren't exactly known for conjuring parfaits out of nothing. When asked for a ride back home, the goddess hits her with a hard no. Elendila is left feeling the heat as she realizes she is officially stuck babysitting a divine brat. The logic finally breaks the goddess, and her divine dignity goes right out the window. She starts wailing about her status while Elendila watches the meltdown in total disbelief. It turns out being a temple deity is a major struggle when Empress Kushana is stealing all the worship clout. She just wants the pampering and snacks that come with the job. The goddess continues her downward spiral, questioning why her temple is treated like a glorified bus stop. Elendila tries to interject, but the deity is too busy drowning in her own self-pity. The goddess has officially picked her target and dropped a new name, calling herself Melissa while telling Elendila to stop crying. She drops the ultimate ultimatum, demanding our girl become her personal priestess and whip up parfaits every single day. Elendila immediately shuts that down with a hard no. Elendila hits her with the ultimate disrespect, casually mentioning she doesn't even believe in gods while the deity has a total meltdown. It gets even more awkward when Elendila explains her cooking is strictly reserved for Empress Kushana, leaving the goddess completely stunned. The divine tantrum reaches a breaking point as the goddess tries to unleash a curse through a direct stare. It backfires though, as the entire reality starts cracking like glass around them while Elendila watches in confusion. Yashabal officially crashes the party by breaking into the sacred domain, turning the goddess into an instant fangirl. She goes from pure rage to screaming about her future husband in a matter of seconds. He calmly checks on the princess while the deity panics, unable to comprehend how a human just walked into her private dimension. Melissa yields and decides to give the princess back before things get any more heated. Yashabal tells our girl to close her eyes for a second, right as the goddess tosses her across the room while shouting for him to take her. Catching her easily, he apologizes for the delay, while the goddess stands there in total shock. She cannot believe how fast he broke into her sacred domain and wonders if he has even abandoned his humanity. He hits her with a cold truth, explaining that another deity would just appear to take her spot if she was gone. Melissa is losing it, shouting about how he could even think of destroying a goddess for this one girl. To him and the entire Agdon Empire, this girl is an irreplaceable existence. He steps forward with total confidence, leaving the goddess completely stunned by his resolve. All that tension gets deleted when Elendila starts beaming with joy. She is hyped to let everyone know she is totally fine and has actually become best friends with Melissa. Since her new bestie is a goddess, our girl expects the inside scoop on her mysterious powers. She turns to Melissa and asks her to finally reveal what her blessing actually is. Yashobo just goes with the flow and waits for the answer, but the goddess is not feeling the best friend vibe. Elendila has to tell her to read the room even if she is a divine being. Melissa leans in way too close, staring directly into the princess's eyes to confirm her suspicions. The deity suddenly freezes up, pointing a finger and demanding to know why our girl is rocking two different blessings at once. Back with the squad, the princess is thrilled to be reunited with her fluffy friend. She gives Cotton Candy a massive hug while the little cloud creature squeaks with joy. Saint Barsha drops the good news that Cotton Candy is officially healed and over her magic exhaustion. Our girl is just relieved her buddy is safe, offering a quick thank you to the priestess. The goddess is having a total main character moment, convinced that this entire dessert spread is a personal offering meant for her. She tries to play it off as a joke after her outburst, but quickly turns on Yashabal for trying to freeze her out. He just gives her the cold shoulder, claiming he hasn't even made a move yet. The temple crew reveals they actually remade every single dish just so the princess wouldn't have to see an empty table. Our girl is stunned by the gesture, realizing her new friends really have her back. She realizes the feeding frenzy has started without her. Wait, what about my share? The temple staff is living it up with the masterpieces they created. Melissa, on the other hand, gets grounded from the dessert line after her earlier snack session. Our girl plays it humble and goes for the small cup instead of the massive parfait. It is such a curveball that even the goddess has to double check if she is for real, dropping the ultimate logic. She says the food deserves to be enjoyed by someone who is actually excited for it. That kind of selfless energy is enough to melt even a divine ego. The vibe shifts as the deity finally owns up to her mistakes. She officially apologizes for being a food thief earlier. Tension deleted. They are officially in bestie mode now, enjoying parfaits together, while cotton candy vibes in the background. With her stomach full, our MC starts connecting the dots on her cooking skills. She realizes this master chef knowledge might actually be a leaked save file from her past life. Yashabal gives the princess a gentle head pat, asking if she's doing all right. She looks up with huge eyes, thanking him for coming to save her. He keeps it professional, telling her he only did what was natural. As her guardian, he is just doing his duty to keep her safe. The goddess gets a reality check as she is forced to apologize for her behavior earlier. Seeing a literal deity bow down to a tiny puffball is peak comedy. Yashabal admits that even he has limits, explaining how hard it is to force his way into a sacred domain. He mentions that the Empress or Lord Corvinus might have had an easier time. He recounts the moment he heard she was in danger and rushed into the temple. It turns out Cotton Candy was the real MVP in helping him find her. A flashback reveals the little beast barked until its throat bled just to keep the distortion open. Back in the present, the princess hugs her loyal buddy closer than ever. The knight drops a heavy warning about the political fallout of her new divine friendship. If the sacred faction finds out, they will demand she be handed over immediately. The news drops like a bomb. The Empress is coming back in 2 weeks, and she is planning a big palace banquet to decide Elendila's future. Once that announcement happens, the temple won't have any power to stop them. Yashobal isn't wasting any time. He decides the dessert bribe for the goddess is enough and tells the princess she is moving into his palace immediately. She is caught completely off guard by the sudden move while the temple staff celebrates in the background. Change of scenery. The group leaves the temple grounds in a carriage, crossing into the heart of the empire. They have officially reached Luan, the massive capital of Agdoniog. Looking out the window, Elendila gets her first look at the massive Shokin castle. The scale of the Crimson Gold castle is enough to make anyone feel small. They cross the bridge and head straight for the main gate. They finally arrive at their destination within the castle walls. Welcome to the Violet Flower Palace, a place that looks more like a high-end resort than a military base. The carriage pulls up to the entrance as a new chapter begins. Reality check time. A stern woman gives the princess a clinical once-over, listing off every health issue from her past neglect. She doesn't hold back, asking if this malnourished girl is really supposed to be their new princess. This is Shaylin, the head lady in waiting who manages the entire palace. She is Sayafosh's mother, and she is ready to get to work. She tells the princess it is all right, but her focus is purely professional. Yashabal checks out, telling a maid named Anne to get the bath ready while he heads back to work. Our girl just stands there, probably wondering if she should have asked for a snack first. The mood gets heavy fast as the princess reminds everyone she is technically a former enemy royal. She expects the cold shoulder, but the vibe in the room is starting to shift. Suddenly, Shilan loses all her cool and goes full fangirl mode. She grabs those squishy cheeks and declares that the princess is the most adorable thing she has ever seen. It is a total cheek assault as Shilan gushes about how Siafosh was right about the cute buns and candy eyes. She starts asking if the girl is actually a literal fairy, while the MC desperately tries to set the record straight. The lady in waiting goes dramatic, admitting she gave up on raising the prince's kids because he is a perpetual bachelor. Now that a cute princess is in the palace, she is claiming our girl as her own project. Things get a lot more casual when Shilan insists on dropping the formal titles. The princess hesitatingly agrees to the new name basis, still a bit stunned by the sudden change in atmosphere. The MC looks her straight in the eyes with a question that has been eating at her. She finally asks if Shaylin actually hates her, breaking the joyful moment with a dose of harsh reality. Elendila feels the warmth from the local people, but cannot help feeling like there is a catch. It is rarely this easy for an enemy royal to find peace. When asked if anyone has been cruel, she waves her hands in a total panic. She insists that everyone has been nothing but nice to her since she arrived. Thinking back, she admits Ibrahim was a bit harsh. She just figures the sage has a spicy personality rather than actual malice. Shilan keeps it real about her burning hatred for the Rinsa kingdom. Even if her blood is boiling, she makes a clear exception for our girl. Leaning in close, the lady in waiting notes how much they have bonded. It is more than just duty at this point. It is a genuine connection. She attributes all this kindness to the girl's own character. Her dignity is what truly won everyone over. A maid interrupts to say the bath is ready, but the princess is already spiraling. She wonders if her past and present selves actually deserve this kind of grace. Shilan is not here for the drama, telling the dazed princess to quit lounging and get back on her feet. Things get heavy when it is revealed that a girl named Anne is actually a double agent for the third prince. Shilan drops the bomb and warns the girl to stay on high alert. The political tea is piping hot because the third prince hates that Yashobal is protecting an enemy royal. He thinks our girl deserves nothing but shame and humiliation. Agdoniog is clearly a mess of internal power struggles. Shilan apologizes for the rough treatment, explaining that the spy needs to see the princess being neglected. Our MC reveals her master plan to end slavery for her people by marrying into the royal family. It is a massive play for someone in her position. She starts questioning if the Ice Prince is actually down with this political marriage. Kushana steps in to remind everyone that Yashobal was the one who brought up the proposal. He definitely knew what kind of chaos he was starting. Kushana crashes the bathhouse vibes and catches the staff completely off guard. She is not about to let a little thing like schedules stop her from joining the princess for a soak. A perfect bow and a formal greeting show that our girl has mastered royal etiquette. The Empress is genuinely shocked at how fast her little guest leveled up her manners. Moonlight and hot springs make for a high-class evening. Kushana leans back and asks if the Empire's legendary baths are living up to the hype. Even in the water, the grind never stops. The Empress drops a new quest and tasks our MC with preparing a signature dish for the big banquet. There is a major twist to this cooking challenge. Every other dish on the table will be preserved by magic, but our girl has to keep hers fresh without any supernatural cheats. The mission is to create a masterpiece that stays perfect for hours on end. It needs to be so good that every guest who takes a bite is immediately won over. This dish is the opening act for the big announcement about her political future. Looking at the faceless crowd, she is already running through every recipe she knows to handle the pressure. Kushana isn't letting a relaxing bath stop the grind. Under the moonlight, she leans in with a mysterious smirk to drop a brand new mission. Aside from the banquet dish, I'm giving you another task. Kushana kicks off a serious talk about leadership while they soak. She asks what a ruler needs most, leaving Elendila wondering about her new mission. Money and talented people are the obvious answers. Kushana confirms she is on the right track as they enjoy the bath. Leadership lesson 1. A king does not have to be a master of all trades to be effective. The bare minimum for a ruler is simply finding talent and treating them right. Elendila absorbs the advice, repeating the requirements back to herself. Here is the massive catch for the celebration. While Yashobal pays for the party, Elendila has to fund 999 special dishes out of her own pocket. She realizes she has to make serious bank in record time. Funding these offerings is the only way to buy mercy for her home country. Our girl is currently flat broke with 0 coins to her name. Kushana reminds her that she is just a dependent living on charity right now. Kushana shrugs off the drama like it is nothing. Since Yashobal already claimed the husband title, she thinks they should just force him to take full responsibility. Elendila starts stressing about the optics of the situation. She wonders if the people will see her as a gold digger wasting their tax coins. She goes quiet while submerged in the water. Relying on him has started to feel a little too natural for her comfort. Kushana knows Yashobo has already factored his reputation into the plan. She personally does not care about the method since both options lead to the same result. The vibe gets serious under the moonlight. Kushana asks if the girl is capable of proving her royal worth in this empire completely on her own. Our girl does not blink. She looks her right in the face and says she can do it. Kushana is feeling that confidence. She accepts the answer with a smirk and moves the conversation along. Mission 1 is officially on the board. Elendila has 2 weeks to plan a large victory banquet and she already has a menu in mind, but getting the right ingredients might be the real final boss. Mission 2 is even more of a grind, requiring her to find a way to make money and build a team. Between needing professional kitchen staff and realizing she is too small to reach most counters, our girl has a lot of hiring to do. Later that evening, the girls are getting ready while Kushana gets her hair brushed. Elendila breaks the silence by asking if she can go out and see how the common people in the Empire actually live. Kushana laughs it off, accidentally admitting she used to sneak out for fun back in her younger days. She tries to backtrack and call it a field inspection, but her lady-in-waiting is not buying the cover story at all. The Empress immediately offers to tag along, but Sheelan shuts that down faster than a bad Yelp review. Official announcements have not been made yet, so she is strictly grounded until further notice. The vibe shifts when a new face enters the room, and Elendila is shook to find a beast person standing there. This is Haruto from the drooping-eared rabbit clan, and the cuteness level just went through the roof. Kushana introduces our MC as the future wife of Yashabol, while Haruto gives a formal bow. It is a meeting of two different worlds, but the rabbit girl seems friendly enough as she introduces herself to the group. Kushana drops some lore, introducing Haruto as the wife of the first prince, Jaf Jahan. Elendila is basically vibrating with excitement to finally meet a real beast person. The vibe gets heavy when Haruto explains that her son is currently a runaway. Apparently, the kid is boycotting the family's meat-heavy diet and took refuge here to avoid the dinner table. It is a tough spot for the kid, since he is a mix of the herbivore rabbit clan and the carnivore golden lion clan. His father's side gets their strength from meat, so the boy is technically failing his genetic expectations. A sudden shout cuts through the conversation. Someone is making a scene nearby, catching everyone off guard. Haruto's son comes charging in, proudly holding a captured magical beast to prove his strength. Unfortunately, that beast is just a terrified cotton candy being dragged around by his fur. Seeing her fluffy friend getting bullied sends Elendila into a blind rage. She drops a heavy animal rights protest right on the kid's face. The hall erupts in chaos as a massive warrior steps in to pin Elendila to the floor. Our MC is left screaming as the situation spirals out of control in an instant. Things went south fast. Elendila is pinned to the floor as a voice booms, demanding she be executed immediately for harming imperial royalty. The kid is straight up losing it. He screams that her country is gone and she is nothing but a servant now. From the top of the room, Kushana just watches. I see. She tries to brush it off as a trivial kid's fight. But the first prince stands his ground. He reminds her that this boy is the future pillar of the nation. Total stone face. He demands a judgment that matches the gravity of attacking a future clan leader. The brat is thirsty for blood, pointing his finger and demanding she be whipped. Kushana turns the floor over to him for his final say. Hearing the word flogging triggers a dark flashback for Elendila. Kushana narrows her eyes, admitting that particular brand of punishment is not really her style. Kushana looked down from her throne, asking the girl for a defense. Elendila stayed on the floor, admitting she panicked when she saw her familiar get hurt. She owned up to it, admitting she chose violence over talking like a civilized person. As a former royal and just a human, she called her own actions disgraceful. Kushana pressed for more, prompting a deeper apology. Elendila continued her humble routine, acknowledging she only lives because of the Empress's grace. She knew she messed up big time, forgetting her place, and hurting a prince was a crime usually solved with a quick execution. Turning to the bratty prince, she thanked him for his supposed kindness. Even though he was demanding a flogging, she acted like it was a mercy compared to death. Our girl tried to psyche herself up for the whip, relying on some holy healing water she had stashed away. But before things could get worse, Yashabal burst in and called out to the Empress. The knight dropped to the floor, taking the full heat for the situation. He claimed the whole mess was his fault for not supervising her better. Yashobal keeps his head on the floor, insisting he should be the one taking the heat for the whole mess. Elendila starts losing it, screaming that a punishment does not count unless she is the one feeling it. Kushana just watches the chaos unfold with a blank stare. A firm command to sit down follows, but she is internally screaming as she realizes he might lose everything for her. Kushana considers the offer, noting that he might actually get stripped of his rank as compensation for the crime. The political weight of the situation finally hits her. Hurting the first prince's son makes it look like the fourth prince deliberately planned an attack. Dropping back into a deep bow, she offers her most sincere apology directly to the young prince. Begging for the whip, she feels nothing but shame for dragging Yashobal into her own disaster. Kushana takes the prince's bait and orders him to do the honors himself. Since the brat is 8, she decides 8 lashes is the magic number. She confirms the sentence without a second thought, leaving everyone in the room stunned. Yashabal tries to object, but it is clear the Empress has already made up her mind. The Empress is over the drama and orders her guards to gag the knight before his whining gives her a headache. She does not have time for his constant begging today. Yashabal screams out for her as he is dragged away, making Elendila wonder why this dude is risking his entire career just to save her. Our girl is hit with a wave of guilt, remembering how she stayed silent while the Empress wiped out her family. She realizes her request for mercy was a huge overstep given the history. Staring at the floor, she concludes there is zero reason for someone like Yashabal to actually care about her. To her, he is just a kind prince burdened by her mistakes. Suddenly, the young prince starts panicking and tries to pass the whip to a servant. He is all talk until it is actually time to get his hands dirty. As the executioner looms over her, our girl realizes this is way beyond a simple lesson. One hit from that whip might actually be her last. Yashabal finally snaps and screams for them to stop, slamming down a massive wall of ice to block the hit. The Empress remains stone cold, telling everyone to stay silent and just watch the scene play out. People in the crowd cannot believe their eyes. Seeing the normally obedient fourth prince catch an attitude with his own ruler is a total first. Turning his fury toward the throne, our boy shouts out to Her Majesty with a look of pure desperation. Rumors start flying instantly as the guests wonder what could possibly make the prince risk everything for a foreign princess. Sickening cracks echo through the hall as the first strike connects. Blood spatters the floor, leaving the prince to endure the punishment in silence through his gag. Our girl is losing it as she watches the nightmare unfold right in front of her. The horror of the situation is finally sinking in, and she can barely catch her breath. The onlookers are stunned that she has not let out a single scream through all of this resilience. They remind each other that she is the daughter of a slave woman, showing more grit than anyone in the room expected. Word is spreading through the hall about her plan to sacrifice her own freedom for her people. They wonder if she really thinks 1,000 nights of dishes can fix the mess her family made. Even the guards are starting to feel sick watching this play out, and they wonder if anyone will stop it. The tension in the room is reaching a breaking point as the high-ranking officers struggle to keep their composure. Morat is getting called out for his history with the princess, and he is clearly falling apart from the guilt. He was the one who escorted her from her kingdom, and now he has to watch her suffer like this. Any hope for mercy is shut down by a reminder that she belongs to the bloodline that killed the Empress's son. To the loyalists, she is just another member of the enemy royalty that needs to be broken. The command is given to watch the whipping with a stone-cold face, no matter how hard it gets. Desperate pleas for a pardon fill the hall as the scene becomes too much for the crowd to handle. Morat hits his limit and officially taps out, dropping his head in shame as he admits he can't go through with it. Kushana stays stone cold, noting that 3 lashes remain and demanding the next person step up to finish the job. Ibrahim tries to snap Morat back to reality, but the guy is stuck in a moral spiral. He knows he could handle the trash from her kingdom all day, but hitting a girl with this much spirit makes him feel like a complete fraud. The weight of the situation finally breaks him as he comes to a major realization. He can't deny it anymore. This kid is just built different. To Morat, she's no longer just another prisoner from a fallen kingdom. He sees someone destined to stand at the top and lead everyone in this room. The sentiment starts to spread through the rest of the guards as they look on. One of them openly admits that she is the only reason he is even still breathing. It turns out the men were all putting their necks on the line for her without even thinking about it. Ibrahim watches the sudden shift in loyalty and wonders if the Empress planned this entire psychological flip from the start. Saifosh takes in the scene and realizes the boss actually threw our girl a lifeline. This trial was less about punishment and more about giving her a chance to prove she belongs in the Empire. Sweating bullets, the onlookers wonder why the boss is putting so much on a small child. No one can guess the Empress's real move here, but the recognition for this girl is through the roof. Enemy status is officially cancelled as the mood in the room pulls up 180. Back in her old home, she was the only one with enough heart to sacrifice everything for her people. Resolute and standing tall, she finally commands the room like a true princess. That's it for today, guys. If you made it to the end, comment cotton candy so I know you're real ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. Until then, keep on cooking.